Live. We're using a slightly different format this time. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but welcome everyone. This is on I forgot my name. The podcast is ruined. Oh no. I'm on Just Restart. That's Shifty from I Am Shifty. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, and hopefully this is I guess the new thing, the new wave.
I actually do not hope this is the new thing.
Oh, okay.
This is a substitute until I find a better solution. But it hopefully it's at least serviceable. And if it is the new thing, it's the new thing, and we'll deal with it. I'll find a way to make it cooler, maybe. We'll see. But it's fine. It's fine the way it is. But just for those who are watching, right? Because there may be some just listening to this in the future. I've been saying for a while, I'm going to be uploading this to other podcast sites. Right now, we're just on YouTube. So if you're listening to this elsewhere, check us out on YouTube on Just Restart. I Am Shifty. No, yeah, it's I Am Shifty on YouTube, right? On Twitter, it's me, Shifty.
Twitter, it's weird.
Shifty is me,
a weird one.
right? But I Am Shifty. Yeah. Look that up. On Just Restart. Hopefully I can put that information in the description for the other podcast sites. This week I'm actually doing it. I'm recording this. I already signed up for the platform. It's happening. But yes, this is a Nintendo podcast. We talk about Nintendo things. I'm not sure if there's news to talk about, right? We're getting into the topics a little bit, but first just kind of talking about the layout change, right? So apparently Google Hangouts, which is what we've been using for over a year, maybe even like 2 years, right? This is podcast 87 in this current format. So, we do the podcast almost every week. Sometimes we take a couple breaks. 87, you can see how that's close to 2 years, and there were things we did before that. So, yeah, it's different, but it's fine. It's fine. Anyway,
unfortunately, Google had to, I guess, delete Hangouts.
I guess they just didn't. You know what it is? Like, when I would use Google Hangouts, I wouldn't even technically go live through their servers. I would just use the window that popped up, and I would have that broadcasting through OBS, because that was the way that I could put an overlay on there and have the camera switch dynamically. Not many other people knew how to do that, right? Like, even big YouTubers with bigger podcasts, not many people knew how to do that, right? So that was kind of something that's like, hey, my podcast does this. Now I no longer have that exclusive, I guess, aspect to it. So we'll figure things out. But anyway, we're rolling with the Discord now. For now, we'll see. If you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments. And actually, I'll check with the comments as well. We do that on this podcast. We check with the comments, especially in between topics. We'll check in with you guys before we jump into the swing of things here. But for today, we're going to be talking about Smash Brothers, right? We just got the Hero Challenger Pack last week, right? And I personally did not pay too much attention to EVO. Shifty, I know you did at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, I actually streamed myself watching the ending, basically, at the top 8 of the tournament.
Okay, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. But really, why I brought it in here is because, for one, Smash during that time was the most watched game. Right, and that hasn't really happened. It was better than League of Legends and Fortnite by a lot. That doesn't happen for Smash Bros. Not really, right? So it's kind of a big deal in that way. And also, what's his face? Ninja switched to Mixer. So I kind of bunched those all into one topic. Basically, I put Smash and streams because we were talking about games and streaming and popularity and how it's all of those little things surrounding that sort of environment and what that can sort of mean for the game industry. We're gonna get into that. That's gonna be our first topic. But then we'll just get specifically more into the hero, what we think of him, maybe what we think of the DLC. I had a video talking about the DLC implications of the hero in his presentation. Shifty, I'm sure you have your own ideas on that. So we'll get into that. And then we'll be talking about our expectations for Pokemon, because guess what? We're going to be getting more Pokemon Sword and Shield news later this week. There will be a research update. So we'll be talking about that. And then we normally don't get into politics here, but I don't know, it just kind of feels like a slow news week, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about it. But, it's not about being... We're just going to talk about how Donald Trump thinks that video games is what is creating violence and with guns. And I think most people here who are probably gamers will disagree. So I don't think it's going to be too controversial for us, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And, we'll be answering your questions, giving our thoughts throughout the podcast. And, it doesn't have to just be these topics. It can be anything. But before I check in with the chat here, How are you, Shifty? Are you well?
I am coming off of the hype that was Evo. Like, I know you didn't really keep up with it. I don't know how many people in the chat really kept up with it, but it was like, oh man, that last fight was just like so hype for me. I was just so into it.
Oh, I thought you were excited about this cherry pie I'm eating.
I mean, that cherry pie looks delicious, but
Yeah, it's really good.
Evo has some delicious fights in there, and
I probably should go back and watch some of them.
That last fight was a huge comeback for one of the players, but I don't know if you want to like talk about Evo like immediately or not, or if we should just go into it, or
let me just say hi to the chat and then we'll jump right into it. And by the way, guys, Brandon is sick, so Brandon Full Out of Nintendo, check out his channel as well. He's sick. He's not dead, probably not, so that's why he's not here. Let's send him our good wishes so he feels better. Yes. A little. Just a little bit. He doesn't have to feel that great. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we don't want him to feel amazing.
No, I'm just... He has to be on the edge, right? Always ready. But, hello there, Super Chris. Hey there, Brandon the Stallion. So I didn't get to see your message about Geno, Brandon the Stallion, yet. So if you want to share it here, I can talk about it here. Well, okay. Looks like you put it. All right. So he said, okay. Well, basically, I was just saying that we're probably gonna get Geno now because the lack of his Mii costume, and Geno is the last piece of the puzzle to complete the quartet. We might talk a little. We don't have to talk about that part during the Smash topic, but I guess we could talk a little bit about that. So, Shifty, did you also notice that when we got the Mii costume announcements for the hero, the Chocobo hat and the Geno Mii costume that we kind of maybe expected to see because it was going to be a Square Enix pack weren't there? So some people are talking, and I brought it up in my own video. I don't think it's really likely, but I think there's, it's at least worth mentioning that, hey, there's no Mii costume, so does that mean that there's something going on with Geno? I think it'd mean the opposite, where there's nothing going on with Geno, and that's why there's no Mii costume. But there's also the small chance, I think, and I mean small, right? So I don't want to build up people's expectations that maybe they're holding it off because in the future maybe there'll be a Super Mario RPG remaster and they'll release the Mii costume, or maybe they really do have plans to eventually bring Geno in as a character. Maybe, probably not. That's where I stand. What do you think, Shifty?
I think there's not much to go off of, honestly. I'm sure there's people, I get why people would, want to bring attention to that, because Square Enix and all that, I get the connection. I do understand that. I just feel that it's not a very strong connection, I think. Mm-hmm. And not enough for me to say, oh yeah, this is a huge, point in Geno's favor or anything like that. So for me, I don't know, I don't really think it's a big deal. And to me, it does kind of make sense that I think all of the Mii outfits are Dragon Quest related, because there's 11 mainline Dragon Quest games that it's not too surprising that they would have a lot of Dragon Quests to go around. Although that you could also say the same for Final Fantasy, which they didn't really do, because they did add Geno at that point, I think, when they added Wii U. So I'm not really sure about that. But I guess I see the logic. I just don't think it's enough, I guess, of a strong connection.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think I don't agree entirely because I think it's worth mentioning, right? I don't know if you think it's worth mentioning, right? But I don't think it's gonna happen. Not just because of this. But like you said earlier, Brandon Stallion, in your comment, how it's the completion of the quartet. Well, what I believe you're referring to is that we got Ridley, we got King K. Rool, and we're getting Banjo and Kazooie, right? All of those characters are the kind of characters that we have been begging for on forums and videos and everything for years, since Melee, pretty much, right? And all of these characters have been mentioned at one time or another by Sakurai in interviews, including Geno. He was considered at one point, right? Like these other characters, and he was high up in the polls. We know about all of that. So he's in the same realm as King K. Rool, Banjo, and Ridley by those metrics, right? So maybe, you know, he's the next in line, and I can see that. But I don't think that this one thing right here is like, oh my god, he's definitely happening, guys. No, but, like, I think it's still worth mentioning, and it might mean something, but I won't, like, get too excited about it yet.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the same way I look at it. Like, cause I don't think it's impossible, because I know there's a lot of people who think, like, oh, Geno's too irrelevant to ever get in and whatnot. Like, I'm not one of those people. I'm not someone who just thinks, you know, Geno's not likely. I just don't think he would be. I feel like if they ever were gonna add Geno, it wouldn't be in the way that we're seeing the DLC, the way it is now, I guess.
The second Fighter's Pass.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Like,
we don't know.
I just feel like, because both K. Rool and Ridley are first-party characters that came in with the game, and I know Geno's technically Square, right? Like they own it, or does Nintendo own Geno?
I think it's a blurred line situation, but I think that Nintendo would. I don't think Square cares that much, but I think technically Square has the rights to it.
Okay.
So I've heard some people. Here's the thing, though. There was a little bit of conversation that came up like a few weeks ago, because there were some Super Mario RPG videos, or actual like you know, like songs of the game, right? They were posted on YouTube, like those extended like 30-minute songs, right? But it was just a Super Mario RPG, which typically you would assume, because it was owned by Square at least at one point. But the debate now is that it might not be, because they were taken down, but not by Square, by Nintendo. So some people were sort of suggesting, oh, maybe Nintendo got the rights to it. Maybe it means something. Maybe they have a game in the works. I don't think it's impossible. I just don't think that's enough to really like say, yeah, this is conclusive evidence that Nintendo is making a new Super Mario RPG remake or something, and Geno's like,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely not gonna go to that extent, but I guess like the way I look at it, I feel like I feel like Geno is a character that is similar to K. Rool and like Ridley, but I feel because he has more of a connection to Nintendo, that's more of a like base roster character reveal than a DLC character. Banjo, yes, because he's completely owned by Microsoft at this point in time, but I just feel like he's more of a base roster kind of inclusion than I feel like a DLC. I feel like if you offer that as a DLC, there's not like the people who like Geno is like a cult following. Like, you know, Super Mario RPG is like a really beloved game for a lot of people, but I don't think it is a DLC like character. If that makes sense.
I agree with you, because you look at the characters we're getting now, right? We're getting we got Joker, right? He is the main character for Persona 5. It's a really popular series, right? And we're getting the hero for Dragon Quest. Now, I guess you can make the argument that maybe the Joker and hero, like Luminari, right? Like those characters themselves aren't necessarily like that big of a deal to Nintendo fans, you know? So maybe it's not like, for example, it's not like it's Minecraft Steve popular, right? Like it's
yeah.
It's a little different. So maybe it's not like Geno, but Geno's like even lesser in terms of like having that individual appeal to sell as an individual pack, because there isn't really a series of games. There's one game from long ago, right?
Right. I think it's what it is that like you can make more of an argument that the characters that are in the Fighters Pass right now are iconic in their own ways.
Yes.
Like Joker represents like Persona and Persona 5, and he's like the most, you know, up to date like version of that franchise. Has been going on for a long time, and is like very popular both here and in Japan. Dragon Quest is the third best selling JRPG period, I think, if I remember correctly.
Second or third?
I think no, second is definitely Final Fantasy.
Okay, but it's for sure up there. Yeah, third. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, that's third, and that's a massive deal. That's a massive franchise. Even if like a lot of people don't know Dragon Quest here, there's still like a good amount of Dragon Quest fans here, and just a colossal ton like in Japan. You know?
Yeah. The Geno thing. So the point is that Geno isn't like as known outside of the Smash community and the Super Mario RPG fans, right? Like those other characters, right? So he doesn't have the potential to sell individually as much as those characters, because people are just like, oh, okay, I don't even know what this is, whatever. Like that, like if someone who's just a casual like Switch owner who goes on the Switch eShop and looks at the DLC packs for Smash Brothers, they're gonna be like, oh, I don't really need to spend money on this guy, right? So I can see that. But on the flip side, right? What if there is a Super Mario RPG game coming, whether it's a remaster, remake, something like that, something that uses Geno again and brings him to the spotlight? Then I would say, okay, wait a second. Then, you know, he would make a lot more sense, right? Or, like you also suggested, maybe he wouldn't be a part of this Fighter's Pass, it'd be a part of something else, where it's more like, for example, something structured a little bit more differently, where it's not individual packs for one character that are sort of featuring this one sort of third-party entry. I think it does have to be a little bit of a different situation, unless a game that he's in comes out where he's brought into the spotlight and a lot more people are seeing him.
Yeah, I think that's what it would have to be, because on his own, it's not like Geno is like the main character of some massive franchise or something like that. Like he's a popular side character from.
Well, that's the other thing.
Sure.
He's a side character, right? Look at the other three we got right now. They're all main characters. Granted, the Banjo series is not like popular now, but he's a lot more known than Geno is, right? Even his series is a lot more known than Super Mario RPG is, and on top of that, a lot of it has more to do with the relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft, why it's such a big deal, right? With Geno, he's a side character from a really old game that was a Nintendo game that Square helped out with, or they developed, but Nintendo published. So, it's a different situation.
Yeah, I do think Geno would be like an addition that would happen eventually. I just don't see it happening in this Fighter's Pass, because this Fighter's Pass seems to be like completely focused and going, hey, here's this random third-party character that you did not expect to come in. Oh, here he is, and now he gets like the stage and the spirits and like this whole big feature of him. I just feel like Geno wouldn't be able, like they wouldn't really be able to do that huge feature for him and make it like, I don't know how to put it. Like,
it might be more of a Piranha Plant sort of situation.
Yeah, like if it was like that, where it was just the character and he's like a bonus kind of thing, then yeah, I could see that. Or if it's like, I don't know, the next Smash Brothers game and he's like part of the main roster.
Yeah.
Then something like that,
like,
yeah.
Before Smash Ultimate came out, I was always hoping like, well, what if they do a scene where they do the whole, from N64 how they had the dolls, right? Where like, what if they emulated that scene, but they picked up Geno instead because he's a doll. And then he came to life, and he's like, oh, Geno joins the fray, or lights up, or, something like that. Like, that would have been amazing. They could still do that with a CGI trailer of him someday, right? That could still happen. But I agree with you that for this Fighter's Pass, it seems unlikely, so I'm not going to get my hopes up. But I am keeping my eyes peeled for anything that says like Super Mario RPG patent or trademark or anything that sort of, if we get some more evidence, then I'm just like, okay, wait, there's this and this and this. Okay, then I'll start like thinking about it a little bit more. But right now, I'm gonna just keep my expectations in check. So, all right, so we answered one question. All right, let's move on. That took like 20 minutes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so Chris agrees he does not like the Hangouts is going away. I felt like it was the best like actual like video chatting platform. So now that it's gone, people are gonna have to resort to Skype. Oh my god, no.
I'd rather use Discord.
Right, yeah, Discord's probably gonna be where most, at least gamers, are gonna go to. Yeah. Hello there, Pride Information. Yeah, you're here early. I started late, but you are here early. Sabbath64, hello there. Sinus Joe, hello. That's an interesting question. Did anyone get the new Switch? I have not gotten the new Switch, Sabbath. Did you get the new Switch, Shifty?
No, because I don't have $300 to just drop on a battery and like upgrade.
Right, pretty much. No, go on.
I was just gonna say that like I'm not against buying upgraded consoles. It's just that's not like, to me, another hour or two of battery is not enough to drop like another $300 on a Switch.
Yeah, I'm not really there either. I've seen some people like do breakdowns and stuff. The one thing I'm really curious to see is that I've seen a couple people that I'm not going to put too much. I don't really give them too much credibility with this. Right, it didn't seem like really conclusive evidence. Like they didn't even put like side by side footage or anything like that. So I was just kind of like, I'm not sure, maybe. But according to Dreamcast guy, he got the he got the new Switch, and he was playing a lot of third-party games, and he was suggesting the games look and run better on the new Switch. I'm not. There were no side-by-side comparisons though, and when I was watching these, he was talking about Doom, and one thing that he didn't specify though is if he had played Doom before the patches, because there was a lot of patches that Doom got since it came out, so it just runs better on the normal Switch compared to when it first released. So maybe I misheard him, but like I don't remember him saying, "Oh yeah, I played this on my normal Switch now, and then I went and played on my new Switch." It almost sounded like he just started playing the game on his new Switch, and it was better than what he remembered. So I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying that like what I saw wasn't conclusive, right? So I'm not sure. But basically, what he was suggesting is that from his perspective, games are running a little bit better on this newer Switch. So he brought up the number 10% better.
Okay, so it's like a slight, like
really slight.
Right.
From what he thinks, which there was no conclusive proof in the video, so like I don't know.
There's a margin for error, basically.
Yeah, 10% is such a. If it's 10%, that could just be, I feel really good today, so it looks better.
I mean, see, this would be like one of those situations where if Brandon was here, he would give us like a good rundown if that was possible or not.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I do know is that the new Switch doesn't really have a new battery. It's just mostly like a better CPU.
Mm-hmm.
That is just more efficient.
Yes. So it's exactly. So there's less. It's consuming less power.
Right. So maybe that like.
I heard again, it also had like really a different type of RAM in it that just kind of is just more power efficient. Like it's not better. It's just more power efficient. So it's
basically.
Right. Like so, the CPU and the RAM is just basically meant to draw less power.
Yeah, like I'm not really a tech guy like that, so like my mind thinks like maybe that new CPU makes it a little bit better in terms of loading times and whatnot, but in terms of looking better, I'm not really sure if that's how that works. But
yeah, so I remember there was some conversation about an X2 like a while ago when the Switch first came out, like it was on the Tegra X1. And the conversation then, if I remember correctly, is that it could either be like 2 times more efficient or 2 times more powerful than the X1 that the Switch had, right? So what we're getting, the Switch has much better battery life because it's more efficient, right? Now, if they were to forego that efficiency, I do think the games could look and run better, but the system it's more efficient. So I don't know if they're even allowing it to clock higher so it can do that. I need to see more like side-by-side comparisons, more proof for me to be like, oh yeah, for sure this is better.
One game that I think would be interesting to test it with would be Mortal Kombat 11. Specifically because Mortal Kombat 11 had this, I think to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but I think Mortal Kombat 11 was the first third-party game to use a certain mode that the Switch had. Because I'm not sure if you're familiar, but like, you know, the Switch has like this certain mode that Nintendo used to use that would kind of like overclock it so that like games could run a little better.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So they used it for Breath of the Wild, and I think it was Odyssey.
Yeah, they use it, but mainly just for loading.
Yeah, and apparently like Mortal Kombat 11 is like the only third-party game that uses it. I could be wrong. Maybe there's like another one that came out that I'm just unaware of.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about though. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to see how MK11 would run on that, because if that's the case, if it is slightly better, and it's running, like, would it be still using that power mode thing, or would it just be using that new CPU, or just that's what I'm confused by, I guess.
I think there's a lot of options, but I think, from what that mode you're talking about, I believe Nintendo needed to patch these Switches in order to do that, right? Like it wasn't something that it was able to do out of the box. So given that, right, like if they were to explore those different options with this other Switch version, you know, considering the way it's being branded, the way it's being treated, I don't think Nintendo wants to try to like ink out more power with this version when it's being branded as basically the same Switch, right? Like, it just came out. I didn't even think it was coming out this soon. I thought it was coming out like a month or so from now, like, you know. So the point is this is not meant to be like some new thing that Nintendo's really like selling and branding. Like, it's just they're replacing their old line of Switches because they needed a better format in there, right? They changed the manufacturing process, things like that. So right. I think I think there's a good chance that it could be more powerful, but Nintendo's not going to do any sort of updates to distinguish it far beyond the regular Switch, right? I think if we're gonna get like a more powerful Switch that does offer those features, it's gonna be far more extensive, and it's something that's gonna be definitely pushed, and it's something we're not gonna see until at least next year.
Yeah, like it's definitely not gonna be to the extent of like all those Pro rumors that we've been hearing about. But if it is slightly better, I feel if it is slightly better in terms of like load times and whatnot, I can believe that just because it's CPU related.
Right.
But in terms of looking better, I feel like I have to look at it because that just sounds like it's not using what was upgraded in a way. Like, I don't know, that's confusing. But again, I'm not a tech guy. Maybe there's something in there that I'm not aware of. Maybe.
You know, and even if it's just 10%, it's just 10%, which is marginal, right? But hey, you know, 10%.
I mean, it's better, not noticeably so, unless you have both of them together and start up the games at the same time, but
yeah.
Better.
So let's move through the chat a little bit more and let's jump into the topics. So Brandon Stanley had another comment in relation to the Geno thing. What's interesting is that even though Geno would be a Mario series character, he could actually come with a bunch of Mario RPG content. He could come with a Mario RPG Spirits and Mallow. And a Mallow and Booster Mii costume, a Smithy Mii costume, a Forest Maze stage, and a bunch of Mario RPG songs. Yeah, there's tons of content that they could bring from the Super Mario RPG series. Like, absolutely. Like, you're 100% right. I would love that. It'd be amazing. And that kind of, if there was like an actual Super Mario RPG remaster, it would work. Like, that would all of a sudden, like, hey, you could really push this, I think. At the same time, I do want to note, right? We haven't heard about a Paper Mario game for Switch yet. A Super Mario RPG sort of remaster, remake sort of thing instead of Paper Mario would I think it could take up like that same slot, the same role, because I mean, Paper Mario is kind of like the spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG, right? I mean, it's a Mario RPG series. Literally Super Nintendo, Super Mario RPG. Then on N64 we got Paper Mario, same sort of style of gameplay, just with some changes, and it's evolved since. So that's another point for Geno. We haven't seen Paper Mario announced, so you know we'll see. But definitely, if there was a pack, all of you what you described would make a lot of sense, Brandon Stallion. Sinus Joe, all I care about is Sans, not for the memes, but because he is a relevant character from a great game. I gotta say this, I have not played his game yet, but I do love his music. There's a lot of like really good songs from, you know what I'm talking about? Why is this slipping my mind? The game that Sans is from.
Undertale?
Undertale, yes, thank you. Like, there's a lot of like really good like music from Undertale. I know I was literally listening to one on my phone the other day. I have it here. I'm not lying.
Is it Megalovania? Because that's the one.
Megalovania is like the really, really popular one. But there's another one that I was listening to. Battle Against a True Hero.
I forgot what that one sounds like. I feel like I recognize music.
Okay, I'm not gonna put two songs over at one time.
I mean, most of the soundtrack of Undertale is good. Like,
yeah, that's something I need to play. Maybe I'll stream it. Maybe I'll stream eventually someday. I don't know.
I did it once, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, but then I got to the part where there was a lot of ice puzzles, and I was like, oh god, I always hate this part in every game.
I've heard that it's kind of like it's almost like a spiritual successor to Earthbound.
It actually, funny enough, the guy Toby Fox, he started out making ROM hacks of Earthbound. like I think if I remember correctly, Megalovania was originally supposed to be a song used in one of those ROM hacks, but he changed it up a little and used it for Undertale down the road.
Interesting.
So he was a big Earthbound guy.
And I didn't hear whatchamacallit, I didn't hear about no, I did not watch the video from MatPat and Game Theory, but I think I saw a Game Theory thumbnail title with suggesting that like Ness was actually Sans in the future or something. I didn't watch it, so I don't know, but you know, maybe there's some other connections there. Probably not. I have no idea.
I've always just been like, when it comes to Game Theory, I like them for like their analysis of behind, like, oh, how much force does it take for this thing to happen or whatever. But when it comes to theories, I'm like, like, I'm not too big on their theories personally. But
well, so like before I was a YouTuber, when I was more of a casual viewer, right, where I didn't analyze these things as much, I remember when I was like really young, like I thought Game Theory was the bomb, right? I mean, they have millions and millions of subscribers, so, you know, I'm sure a lot of people think they're the bomb. But as I got more and more to, you know, what we're doing and, like, really, like, digging into some of the analysis for games, I guess my standards rose a little bit. So, Game Theory took, like, a year or over a year to come out with a timeline theory for Breath of the Wild. So they waited for everyone to talk about it ad nauseum, well over a year. And when I saw their theory on it, I was just like, I was really, really disappointed, because they basically picked one of the 3 timelines, and they offered like 2 or 3 points in support of it, but they kind of really ignored like all the other supporting points for all the other timelines, and didn't even bring up all the supporting points for even their own claim. So like, they took really long, but this is like probably the highest budget, most capable show on the internet. Right? They took longer than everyone else, and I felt like their argument was unoriginal and didn't really add anything to the conversation, and it was underwhelming. So that was just, I mean, yeah. I was always underwhelmed. I just felt like, okay, well, whatever, man.
Now, I'll be honest, I did not watch their Breath of the Wild timeline video.
I think they made another one more recently, so I'm not speaking on that one. I'm speaking on another one, so, but yeah, go on.
Well, I haven't watched that video, but what I just remember, in general, being pretty into Dark Souls at one point. Like, I played every game in the series, and like,
yeah.
And there was a point in time where like, they did a Dark Souls theory video, which is interesting because Dark Souls is specifically designed to not tell you the story unless you go looking for it.
Yeah.
So
I haven't figured anything out. Mine is basic stuff, playing the games.
Exactly. Like, they tell you what's going on through like people talking and like cues and whatnot, but they don't directly tell you. So the fan base is very used to just like piecing things together and just like figuring out what happened.
Yeah.
And the theory, I remember the theory video that Game Theory made was very unpopular with the fan base, because if you go actually look into Dark Souls lore, there's a lot of things they got just blatantly wrong about like Dark Souls lore. So I think like what I took away from Game Theory is that it's not that their theories are true to form, if that makes sense, or very accurate or close to being accurate in some cases.
They're just they know how to make a fun video.
Yeah, I think that's more of what it is. Like, they're quick and easy to digest videos. Like,
and to the untrained eye, it makes it sound like it's really intelligent and really like well knowing, but it's probably just like a little above average, and it's just a really it's just very entertaining.
Yeah, I think like they shine more in like their production value and like how it looks and how they present it. But in terms of the actual core theory itself, it falls flat most of the time. And
I mean that, like, your thinking lines up with mine. You know, like in terms of the way they make the videos, I think it's amazing. But that, like the core theorying, right? The game theory part of it is a little, it lacks the oomph or the backing. You know, that other theories from other people have.
And especially, and I think I also want to add that, like, I could be wrong on this, but watching them make theories on like Zelda and like Dark Souls and like series that I am already familiar with, and I know directly that they got a lot of things wrong. That's not the case. It makes me wonder, watching videos for games that I don't play, is this true? Is this accurate? Is this actually the case, or is it just like I just don't know, so I just take their word for it?
Right, like if you don't know too much about it, you're probably like, oh, that sounds great, you know, because they bring out the points to support it. But how many? I mean, they do bring up some counter arguments. I'm not saying they don't. This is not meant. We're not trying to shit on another YouTuber, but you know, like
Yeah.
I guess we kind of are, but you know, we're just being honest. Yeah.
Like,
The other thing to keep in mind is that they cover a lot, right? They talk about different games from different sides of the spectrum as a gamer, right? Like all kinds of different games. And they obviously have multiple people working on it. So one person who works on one may know about that, but may not know as much as another. So there could be some of that sort of playing into it as well, right? So, you know, maybe one person, for whatever reason, picked this game, but they didn't know that much about it. Or if they did, maybe they're not really that strong at theorizing, I should say. But I'm not going to just... Let's move on from just trashing on game theory. Let's move on. Yeah, we just trashed on game theory for like 5 minutes. Shadow of Nexus. Gino is in the Mario Sports games. Yeah, so, oh, is he? All of them? No, definitely not all of them.
Well, if he's in like one, then I
don't doubt he's like in one. What?
If that's the case, then I mean it would be a pretty easy argument to make that Nintendo is the one that has his rights. Because why would they contact Square Enix to get Gino for a sports game and not Smash Brothers?
I don't know. I mean, Gino is already a spirit in Smash Brothers and an icon as well when you go online. So it's not like nothing. They at least got permission for that. And they did have permission for him as a Mii costume for Smash 4. So, there is something there. Alright, I see other people in the chat, but we gotta move on with the actual topics. We haven't even touched any of the topics yet. So, we're gonna move on, guys, but I see you guys there. Jared Parker, Little Squirt, Computer Robots, how you guys doing? Yeah, if you have any, like, specific, like, questions you want us to talk about as we move on, just at me or Shifty so we can get to it. It's a little bit easier for us to see it. But let's jump into the actual first topic.
Wow.
Yes. 37 minutes in.
Woo.
Smash and streams, which, like as I said at the beginning of the podcast, really I just want to kind of talk about the direction we could be kind of heading in. But whatever direction this topic goes in, that's fine too. Anyway, so first off, Super Smash Brothers is at Evo, right? And it performed really, really well. I think it had 279,000 viewers at one point. Like it was the highest peak. And it was even like doing a lot better than Fortnite and League of Legends, which doesn't really happen too often for anything.
Which, by the way, also makes it the highest peak number for an Evo tournament also. I think last year it was broken by...
Putting it out here on the podcast so you can see the image of it. But, yeah, go on.
But yeah, it was broken by Dragon Ball FighterZ last year, and then this year... Smash broke it again with the 279 number. So yeah, it definitely does help that Evo is the biggest fighting game tournament on the planet, like just period. Like there's people who fly over from all over the world to like come here and play in the fighting games they are familiar with. Mm-hmm. So like I did 2 videos talking about exactly this, and Smash was set up for success from the get-go. Smash this was the highest number of participants for any Smash Brothers tournament, period. That includes any other Smash game at any other venue. There was no tournament that had more people participating than this year's Evo for Smash. Put that on top of the fact that it was also the first time that a game that wasn't Street Fighter in like the last 10 years or so also ended the show for Evo. So Smash had a lot of first times at this year's Evo, and it also helped a lot that the fights were also very entertaining. So
yeah, I mean, watching Smash fights is just really fun. It's fun to watch. I probably should have watched the Evo. I have to go back and watch some of the fights. I just don't follow the competitive scene with Smash, right? So I wasn't like, oh my god. Even with Pokemon, which I used to compete in. Right, like I don't watch the fights live usually, but I'll eventually go back and watch them. Right. Like I guess the only sport that I really watch like even basketball, most of the games I watch are like recorded. Most of the playoff games I watched recorded. Actually, the finals I watched record. No, I think the last game I watched live. The very last game of the NBA Finals I watched live, but most of them I watched recorded. So that's just a me thing. But I did bring up the basketball thing intentionally though, because I love that this happened, right? I think it's, well, one, it speaks well for Evo, right? But it also speaks well for Smash Brothers. And like a lot of people made the argument, oh, that Smash can't be like, you know, as competitive, as great of a competitive sport as like other games like League of Legends, for example, right? But you know, maybe it can. It just needs more publicity.
I think it usually, I think the biggest like hurdle that any esport, whether it's Fortnite, League, or
it's just availability to players, right? Because PC has the largest install base by far.
I think it's, well, if we're talking like as a spectator sport, then like availability is not necessarily
right.
Like, that's more for like if you're trying to kind of gauge the actual competitive like scene, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because then Fortnite and League are both wildly available. They're free to play. You can download them at any time and you can just play.
Right.
That can get anyone who wants to compete in there. But if you're someone who's not interested in competing and you're just trying to spectate, then the biggest hurdle typically is how do you make it obvious what the rules of the game are to someone who doesn't play it.
Okay.
So that's the biggest hurdle, and I think
is Smash complicated?
I think Smash is not that complicated. I mean, I'm speaking as someone who competes in it, so maybe
I think the thing that's probably most clearly complicated from a non-Smash player's perspective is that as people get hit, the number goes up and they randomly die. Like, if you don't know what's going on, you see all this fast movement going on screen. The good thing about competitive plays, they don't really use items, right? It's 1v1.
Yeah.
So that simplifies it. It's easier for people to sort of see what's going on, just 1v1 on a stage. But seeing that number go up and up and then they just randomly die at some point is probably somewhat confusing to someone who just like, that's not how fighting games work. Where's the life bar? Why, you know, like they probably just don't get it.
Like at least with something like say League of Legends, right? Like every attack that they have in League, they're in the bottom of the screen. Like they can see it at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have like good commentators like commentating the matches, they can basically like display the information or like mention the information very easily and precisely, and also make it entertaining at the same time. Same thing with Fortnite. Like you can see the weapons that people are using in Fortnite at all times. Like they can't hide that from someone who's viewing the game. So it makes it very easy to understand. Like, oh hey, this guy, he also Fortnite. Any shooting game is also very easy to understand too, because you get the idea of like, oh, point and click. The guy's gone. The guy who's not gone won. Like it's a very simple concept. I think the reason why fighting games don't usually hit to that extent is because it's not like the average like spectator knows what every attack is. Like they don't know that, oh, this character is able to do this because they.
Oh, you know what? Actually, as a casual, I think I can speak on this because when I watch Smash or I listen to other competitive players talk about Smash, they're like, oh, like F air or bear or dare. I'm just like, what? I know what those are, but the point is that like that terminology, like if you listen to a Smash play, like an actual like Smash announcers during a fight, they're just saying, oh, he did the dare, oh, the back air, oh man, like people are like, okay, what do they mean by that, right? Oh, he auto canceled, oh, blah 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 blah, like, oh, what?
Like I think there was actually like a line during Evo where one of them said something along the lines of, oh, like he failed to SDI the drag down up air and jab locked into something, and I'm like, I understand that, but I guarantee you like a lot of other people who are watching.
I do not understand what you just said. No. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's typically what it is with fighting games. Like fighting games don't have all of their information on screen for a spectator to be able to look at and go, oh, okay, that's something he can do. League does. League has a bottom, like I don't know what you call it, like a hot power skills bar or whatever. So like, oh, this is how many moves he has, this is how much time he has until he's able to use them again. And the more complicated stuff is usually just like really quickly thrown to the side, if that makes sense. Same thing with Fortnite. So that's the biggest hurdle for a spectator sport. And I think what Evo does well is that they put a massive spotlight on games like that don't like fighting games don't typically have like a massive like spectator numbers. Like they usually do. They're consistent numbers too, but they're not to the extent of like Fortnite Elite typically, or like any MOBA, I guess. So I think Evo does a good job in taking like, you know, the world's most popular fighting games, making the world's best players of those fighting games together and just making it a big spectacle. And then that spectacle is what makes people want to come and watch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I can understand that. I'm gonna have to go watch the Evo fights just so I can really like think, okay, so this is how they're presenting it, this is how people are watching it. Cool. But another thing that sort of happened last week was that Ninja put out a little video and then basically made the announcement that he's now going to stream exclusively on Mixer. For those that don't know, Ninja pretty much streamed on Twitch instead, right? That's how he built up his fame and became like the most popular gamer in the world by far, and became like what was like on Time magazine like one of the top 100 most influential people or something like that. Maybe it wasn't Time, but he like that doesn't happen. He was just a gamer. Like that doesn't really happen for gamers. Playing games, it doesn't happen, but it happened to him, and yeah, he's rich and super successful because he was. I mean, he's good, right? I'm not saying he's not good, but you know, like I don't think many people will deny, even himself included, that he was playing the right game at the right time, at the right place, right? So he gained a lot of fame and popularity, and he's really helped the platform. He's done a great job. But now he wants to move over to Mixer, and most people are under the impression, and I don't think there's any, if there's been any denials that have come out from this, please, you know, let me know. But the impression is that Microsoft gave him a really big fat check. Like it pretty much sounds like he's getting sponsored, right? To move over to Mixer. Now, the thing is, right? I don't care. Like this makes no difference to me, right? But what does interest me is a couple things. One, Mixer. I've heard of it, but I've never really thought about using it, right? But now that Ninja's come out, people are, let's see how Mixer is. Like people are not kind of like paying more attention to it, right? So it's like another platform that might get a big push, which is probably why Microsoft is paying all this money to get Ninja on there, because him getting on there is going to give Mixer a lot more popularity, and maybe it'll take off, right? Maybe. So there's that element that's interesting, right? But also, to me, right, like it's interesting because the way Ninja just put out a video and now everyone's talking about it, making a big deal about it, and him as a brand, as a celebrity, as a gamer athlete, right, a game fleet or whatever the terminology is, he is kind of helping to push this other streaming platform. And I think that's really interesting because it kind of reminds me of the effect that certain athletes have in sports. For example, when LeBron James moves to another city to play for that team, their economy is gonna boom, right? Like there's gonna be a lot more publicity over there. There's gonna be a lot more attention. That franchise is going to change forever, right? My point being is that Ninja being able to do this, even though maybe he's not like the world's greatest Fortnite player, but he's a really good one. He's very popular, and he is like that celebrity, that brand that can really push and change things. And I think that can have implications for like competitive gaming and watching gaming, and watching games like we were just talking about Evo moving forward. Like that could become a bigger element. So it's just kind of interesting to see how he's playing a big role in what could mean Mixer getting a lot more relevant.
Right. And I pretty much feel the same way. The only difference is that I guess I can add to it is that I have actually used Mixer a good couple of times before. Primarily because since it's owned by Microsoft, anytime you go on like an Xbox related platform, whether it's an Xbox One or a PC app or whatever the case is, Mixer is kind of integrated into it. So you see it pretty much often. Like actually, funny enough, I remember there was a good, I want to say months ago or so, that people thought that like it was confirmed that like Minecraft Steve was going to Smash because they saw Nintendo characters on the Xbox homepage.
Yeah. And
that's because of Mixer's integration. Somebody was streaming Smash and it integrated into the home menu of the Xbox.
Right.
So it's been a thing for a while, and I personally know people who have streamed on there. I have streamed on there at some point before I even had this YouTube channel. So it's not a bad platform in terms of how it works. It's a lot more strict than Twitch though. There's a lot more like the community guidelines of Mixer is a lot like more like against certain things that are popular on Twitch.
Like
Like
what?
you're not gonna okay, like for instance, you know,
mean,
being
like,
very like
girls like doing
yeah,
very
like very like low cut tops, that kind of thing.
okay.
Like Mixer has it like there are specific rules set in Mixer that says that if you're gonna stream, if you're gonna wear something like that, you have to have like your stream set to like 18 plus or like
Okay.
certain age range or something like that. So they're a little more strict with rules, but the best thing I've noticed about Mixer is that in terms of the streaming services that I've used, it has the lowest amount of latency between like the chat and like the actual streamer.
Which is really cool, but I think I saw someone talk about that. I think the argument that was made was that they're able to achieve that because they don't have as many people on the platform. That if there was a lot more people using the platform, there would be issues with the bandwidth and maybe the latency wouldn't be as great.
Maybe.
I don't
guess,
know.
Like,
I'm just
yeah.
yeah.
Like I guess time will definitely tell because Ninja being on there already, like, puts like a ton of people on Mixer regardless if they were interested in it beforehand or not. And yeah, Ninja being on there is a big deal. It's not that I don't know how to put it. Like it is a big deal, but there's so many other streamers that are close to his numbers. And in fact, there's one streamer who actually has more numbers than Ninja does currently, or did when he was on Twitch. That I feel like Twitch is not gonna be suffering too much unless like more people keep going over there. Like I think Mixer is gonna grow. Mixer is gonna do a little better. Because I think the biggest problem Mixer had was just that it just couldn't make it out there. Like it couldn't get the word out, basically, that it was like a platform.
Which is why I'm seeing the Shadow of Nexus saying one reporter said Ninja got 20 million from Microsoft to move over. I don't know if that's true, but if that is, wow, 20 million to switch streaming platforms.
I think that might be speculative because I feel
Yeah.
because I've seen a lot of
And I
numbers.
feel like it's got to be a
being
contract, like to stream on that platform exclusively over a period of time, right?
if I remember correctly, there was another big streamer that was like I think 17th biggest Twitch streamer or something like that. Like he's relatively large as well, and he was saying that he personally thinks it was 10 million and it was for 3 years, because he said that's typically like because the way it works, he thinks that Mixer doesn't want you to be there for only 1 year if they're spending that much money on it, but Ninja also doesn't want to be there for too long, so he thinks like 3 years is probably that middle ground that they would work on.
Right, and that's still speculative, but that's
Exactly.
interesting. But I like that conversation though, because again, it reminds me of like actual pro sports, right? Like an actual contract. Like players, when they're in free agency, they there's discussions and there's some debate had, and they might agree to 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, and there'll be a certain amount of money. Heck, like if that would become more commonplace, and like if, for example, like if a certain like media platform, let's say Mix, was like, hey, if you stream exclusively with us, we'll pay you $1,000 a year for 2 years. I'm like, that's more than I'm making on Twitch, so sure. Yeah.
Pretty much. And I do want to point out that Ninja did have this thing going on where I think I could be wrong, but I think it was something like if you were like subscribed to him on Twitch, like people have pay money like every month or so, then you got a free subscription to him on Mixer. So it was like, so it's not like his fans really lost anything either. I guess like if they preferred Twitch, then I guess they lose that. But in terms of like the money put into the streamer, like it's coming back to them through the Mixer subscription. So I guess it's not. I don't know. Like that is something that he did that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, and I am curious to see how Mix is going to come up, and if there will be more of a trend of like Twitch and Mixer, maybe YouTube jumps in there, and just different like streaming platforms trying to like get these different like big streamers to ride exclusively with them.
I'd say it started with DLive because DLive took PewDiePie.
I don't even know what DLive is.
Exactly.
I thought, but I guess it wasn't big enough of a deal because,
I think what it is that PewDiePie was never like a big streamer. He was always just a YouTuber.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's what it is. But when he does stream, it's on DLive.
And that probably whenever he like pushes that, hey guys, I'm streaming, check me out here. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely makes sense. But I think we're ready to move on, unless there's anything else you want to kind of add on this topic.
No, I think that's more or less it. Yeah. Evo's huge, and so is Ninja moving.
Absolutely, and hopefully Smash gets bigger.
That'd be
I
nice.
mean, I think they're doing a great job. And we're still talking about Smash, by the way, because we're moving on more specifically onto the hero. I just gotta say that for the hero, you know, like the speculation beforehand, like I sort of bought into it fairly early on. Like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of evidence for Erdrick, so I think it's happening. And it happened, right? But I wasn't like super excited about it. It was just kind of more like, okay, this is happening. It'll probably be cool, but I'm not like hyped for it, you know?
Right.
Not like extra hyped for it like I was for Banjo. But still, I thought it would be cool. But once we saw it, I was like, oh, I kind of like this a little bit more than I thought, right? And now the characters come out, I personally like him a lot. I could see him becoming one of my like top 4 or 5 most used characters. Just for me personally, like one of the reasons why is because his sword moves are very like Link. They feel a lot like Link already to me. Like the forward dash, for example, it's almost the same thing. I mean, I'm sure you might think there's some more subtle differences, but it's very similar is my point. And to me, it feels a little bit more at home because of that. And I actually like the magic aspect to an extent. Like I like some of the moves you get from it at least. It's a little hard to like pick the right one, you know, when someone's like chasing you down the whole time. It's a little hard. I mean, I guess if I got better, you know, if I got good, I'd be able to maybe pull some more things off. But, you know, assuming no one's like chasing me down, if someone lets me breathe a little bit, I have a lot of fun with it. But that's the thing. Someone's gotta let me breathe, and I don't know. I guess you're a bit more competitive oriented. So how do you kind of feel about that aspect, at least, that like just the usability of this mechanic with the spells?
It's okay. So in my point of view, I did a whole video whether or not I think he's.
I saw it. I don't know if you.
A big.
Because I commented.
Character. I saw.
Oh.
But when it comes to the spells, I do think that it is the best part of the character. Because the spells that he gets, especially if you're someone who's able to choose what you want pretty quickly, is ridiculous. Like, it does a lot of damage. It kills very early. Some of them can give you very free kills.
Magic Burst is great.
Magic Burst is ridiculous. But at the same time, the argument that I've made for this character is that he's a good character, but he's a good character if you're lucky. Because the best moves that he has are the ones that are I'm always been a fan of like characters that are consistent.
No, yeah, I understand that. For example, as a Pokemon player, like I need consistency.
Right.
I ain't using Focus Miss, which is actually called Focus Blast. Right. That 70% accuracy, that's not good enough for me. I'm like sweating bullets if something even has like 95% accuracy. Granted, sometimes you kind of have to go for it in Pokemon. Like, for example, Fire Blast is just kind of too good of a move to not use on Charizard very often, even though it's 85% accuracy. But, you know, go on with your point.
Yeah, I guess the point is just that I want consistency in my characters, right? And Hero is consistent and strong when it comes to his Fireball spell and his Electric spell, his, like, Thunder or whatever.
Yeah, I do really like those moves.
And those moves are very strong. I actually think that his Fireball is the best move he has. But I've seen a lot of people call this character broken or overpowered because of the spells that he gets from Down B. The problem I have with that is that Down B is completely random, and the part of the spells that make him ridiculously broken only have a 5% chance of showing up. The ones that are very strong that have a higher chance of showing up, those typically take a large amount of your MP to the point where, like, I actually had a when I was doing a recent Smash Fight Club, which is like a stream I have when I play with people. I had someone actually used the Magic Burst, which, if you're not unaware, Magic Burst uses all of your magic all in one big explosion. And then he went off stage And when he tried to recover, he realized, oh wait, I don't have any magic to recover with. So he just fell and lost because of it. So it's kind of like
Yeah, magic's important, so it is kind of a weakness having that, the number there. You can't just use them unlimited.
Right. So I'm not saying that the character's bad by any means, but I personally, unless something changes, as the character develops and as people are playing them and whatnot, as of now, I don't think the character's broken, because I feel that in order to get like some of the most ridiculous, crazy stuff with him, you're essentially rolling like a slot, like you're pulling a slot machine and you're getting the jackpot, basically. It'd be like if you're playing like a Game & Watch and you're hitting level 9 twice in one game.
I have faith.
Like, that's about
you
the
gotta
same.
have faith.
You gotta have faith. There's some really good moves though. You just
Yeah.
need to be quick on the draw. That's kind of just the point.
Right, and I mean, in your video, you already said it just now, like the side B and the neutral B, right? The fireball and the lightning sword. Those are really good moves. I'd like them. I enjoy them, and they each technically are 3 spells each, because depending on how you charge it, each one is like 3 different. They're like 3 different types of moves, right? And also the up B as well. So I already like that, and honestly, I would have been okay if it was just 4 spells. Like, I was surprised. It was like, oh yeah, there's like 20 spells here. I was like, what? Really? That's a little insane.
In certain situations, if you're lucky with what you get with the down B, you can just win a game. But you need to be quick to pick it, and you need to be lucky that you get what you need. That's basically the idea.
That makes sense. And the other thing is that you can see the player picking it, right? So you have like, if you become well acquainted with the different moves, like I feel like as a player, if you were competitive at least, right, you like, all right, I gotta know hero, right? You gotta know hero to counter hero. If you see he's gonna do a magic burst, you back off, right? Or, I mean, I don't know if he can stop kamikaze. I haven't even used that move yet, so I have no idea.
Never use kamikaze. That move sucks.
Okay, all right, good.
It's a bad move.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I have played online a fair amount with Hero. I think I've already gotten him into Elite Smash, like, on the first day of playing them. And I've learned very quickly that now, well, obviously, like you mentioned, that not only can you see what move they're about to pick, but they're not invincible during a good portion of the, like, they have a lot of end lag on a good portion of their moves. So they can go for these very strong attacks, but they're not safe while they're doing it in some of them. The only one I would say that you're pretty safe on is their electric spell, the thunder spell, because there's armor on it.
Okay.
But Magic Burst, for example, there was a game I won primarily because someone did Magic Burst. I saw them about to pick it. I just backed off and shot a fireball while they were just standing there, like, the entire time. So it was just like a very easy.
I mean, and some of them just don't seem like that big of a deal. Like the whole metal one.
Yeah, like the metal one is useless. Kamikaze is pretty bad because you die for it, and if you're a competitive player, you're able to tech it. And I don't know if you know what that means, but it's like basically you can just cancel the launch distance of the move.
Got it.
So it's like it's not a real big reward for it.
How do you feel about some of like the? I think there's like Hatchet Man and there's like a Flame Sword. Like, do you think those are good, or are they just kind of like hard? I feel. As a casual, I'm like, oh, this seems like really hard to use because I have to pick the spell, and they have to be the character. My opponent has to be in the right placement for that.
Right.
Like at least with the Magic Burst, like there's a radius.
Right.
Or like for some, like for example, the fireball you can just shoot across, but like I think the hatchet one, like it goes like this arc, and it's like really far. Like they just kind of. And then you can't even use it consistently, so you can't be like, oh, okay, that person's over there, let me go and check my spells to use it. Oh, wait, let me try like 5 times.
Exactly. There's no the lack of consistency is like a big weakness for the character. But for things like Flame Sword and Hatchet Man, they are good for very specific circumstances.
Very specific. That's the problem.
Flame Sword in particular is good if you're trying to like kind of edge trap someone.
Yeah,
so someone
I can see that. That makes sense. That's something that happens.
There's a good range on it. The fire hitbox is a little high up, so if they jump, they get hit by it and they go back. Hatchet Man is good as a hard read. Like if you think somebody is gonna run up and shield in front of you, or is someone gonna like spot, dodge right in front of you or something, you do it because they can't block that. If they block Hatchet Man, you break their shield instantly.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
they can't block it, and if they don't have time to dodge it, they're gonna probably try to block, or they're gonna get hit by it.
So isn't there like a move that is really good if someone is metal?
Yeah, and that's so useless.
It's way too specific.
Yeah, it's so specific. You would never ever use it unless you're playing with items on and someone gets the metal box, or if you're fighting another hero who accidentally turned himself into metal.
Right, which is really rare.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Because then not only then do they have to go metal, you have to have the metal move come up, right?
Yeah.
So
Although,
you can't react to it.
Yeah, like you could but to be fair though, is that I think you have enough time to maybe reset the menu like 2 or 3 times before like they're able to move.
So if you just press down, down B, like okay, I guess.
Like you could probably get it. Like if you're lucky enough to get it between one of the 2 to 3 like menus, then yeah. Because I played online once where a guy did it by accident, and I managed to get it on my second like menu. I just killed him.
Okay.
And it can happen. It's just the circumstances are so specific, and because you can't cancel out of it either, it's not good. Because if the person you're fighting has an attack that hits multiple times, they can just hit the metal version of you until you're ready to turn back to normal, and then you get hit for it. So it's not a very good move. Like there are certain spells that are just not good. Hocus Pocus is one that people freak out about a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think the stage is cool. I think the music is cool. I love the alts. I don't think anyone's really complaining about that, right?
No, I mean I like to use 8 the most.
All right. But so let's just kind of jump into some of like I guess the DLC speculation, because we all love doing that. So we talked about the Geno thing already, right? But one thing I think is worth noting is that there was that expectation, or like the consideration, right, that with each pack, assuming it was from a particular company, we would get the old Mii costumes that we had from Smash for Wii U. So when we got Joker, Persona is published by Sega, we got the old Sega Mii costumes back, along with some new ones with the Joker update. So we were thinking that we would get the Chocobo and Geno Mii costume because they're from Square, and they would come with this, Square pack that's for Dragon Quest. It didn't happen. So then that whole theory that, okay, we're getting all the Mii costumes back for each pack, does that mean we're going to get a Capcom pack and a Bandai Namco pack? Well, now that we didn't get back the Geno or the Chocobo, I feel like that idea is just kind of out the window, right? So there's no longer I was never assuming for sure that it was going to be Capcom and Bandai as the last 2 reps, right? But now, that chance in my mind is lower. How do you feel about that? You don't there's the whole Mii costume theory thing.
Yeah, I guess I don't really feel either way about it, to be honest, because I was never really too big on that theory at first, and now that it's I guess even less so, it just kind of continues in the same direction I already thought about, in a sense. I didn't think it had much it could. I don't know how to put it. It's like if there was 2 of these in a row where they did that and they brought back Mii outfits 2 characters in a row, then maybe I would have gave it more
right, but it was just 1.
But it was just 1, exactly. So at that point, I feel like some people we were trying to make a pattern out of something that wasn't a pattern yet.
Right.
So at that point, that was just a very hard speculative thing that didn't really have any pattern to back itself on. So for me, I never really took it to, I never took it very seriously, I guess, as a good theory or anything like that.
Gotcha.
If Hero came with the aforementioned Mii outfits from Smash 4, then I probably would have believed it a lot more.
Yeah. The other thing is it would have made it a little bit more obvious who the final 2 reps would be. It just kind of seems like, would they really make it that obvious,
Yeah.
Maybe they would. I mean, remember with the when there was the whole box that came out for Smash Ultimate, the way the spaces were for the different characters before the game came out, it only showed basically 2 more spots. It suggested there'd only be 2 more reps in the base roster, and there were only 2 more reps in the base roster from that point.
Yep.
So, sometimes they are obvious.
Yeah, sometimes they can be pretty obvious. I even remember because around that time is when I was like more involved with leaking like Smash info at the time. I remember there used to be a Discord server where I used to like discuss like my leaks and whatnot in like more detail. And some people felt I could be wrong, maybe I'm remembering a little wrong, but I remember at the time there was like this very common belief that the box theory was not accurate because I believe another leaker, I think it might have been Vergoben or someone else, I'm not sure, had said that the Square rep that we got later on, which ended up being Hero, was going to be the third like main roster character. And I remember there being like a big like discussion around that time, and in my Discord server it was just me saying like, no, it's just gonna be Incineroar and Ken, and that's gonna be the base roster. And then the Piranha Plant thing happened, and yeah, so it was like a.
I wish I was talking to you then. You might have helped me quell my expectations a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I knew like when I didn't even know about the box theory until someone brought it up to me, and then when I saw it, I was like, I don't know anything about the box specifically, but the box is right.
Yeah. All praise the holy box. Yeah. From what I remember, the Vergoben thing, I think he was iffy on when the Square rep was coming. Which at that point I'm like, okay, so basically you're just guessing a Square rep eventually. Okay, I mean that's not even that crazy of a guess, you know.
Right. I think.
But he got a lot of things up right beforehand, so I'm not really doubting that he had sources.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I've even made at the time I made like a whole video saying like, you know, I think he's wrong about the Square rep being like in the base roster, because at the time he was saying it was base roster. Then later on he like, you know, reiterated that whole point. But I made a whole video saying like Vergoben's wrong about this. It's this instead, and then. Like, I remember getting flack for that at the time because, you know, Vergoben was very, like, prominent.
Yeah, and there was also the whole Minecraft Steve thing. Like, he was like, oh, at one point he came out and said, yeah, so I really... he was like, oh, I've heard Minecraft content for sure, right? And... Which has not been derailed, by the way. We could still get Minecraft content.
Yeah.
My personal speculation is there might be, like, a couple Minecraft Mii costumes, right? When we get the Banjo. But he was also saying... He also had this other leaker... He's like, look, we've heard similar things, and he's saying Minecraft Steve, right? So you have this parade of leakers saying, yeah, Minecraft Steve is totally happening, guys. Don't believe anything else. And I mean, we're getting Banjo-Kazooie, right? So like,
right. And I didn't make like a whole statement at the time too, that because I remember some people were like, kind of asking me if I'm saying like Vergoben's fake, or am I just saying that he's just wrong about this one particular thing? And I was like, I'm not saying he's fake at all, because there's no way you could be right as often as you are.
Right.
Being fake, you know?
It's just that when it comes to leaks, you gotta understand that it's not always right for a variety of reasons, right? Sometimes plans change, sometimes the information that's shared isn't entirely clear, so there's some interpretation there, it seems. And then sometimes companies put out fake information because they don't want leaks to happen, so they're trying to find out where the leaks are coming from. So if someone's hearing Minecraft Steve is totally happening when it's not happening, it's because you know, Nintendo and Microsoft are just pushing that out there to find out who's leaking this. Who should we fire? Right?
Exactly. So it's not that I remember there was even someone who thought I was Vergoben at one point, and it was just like, it was a weird thing.
Maybe you
like,
are.
Oh, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But just in general, when it comes to like leaks, like just know that none of even if they are telling the truth and they actually do know these things, and maybe they've even seen these things, it doesn't mean it's 100% going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another great example of that outside of Smash, Emily Rogers, right? We talked about it like the week before, not even. She was saying that there's gonna be a new Nintendo Switch revision. It's like, oh yeah, like there's gonna be 2 colors, and you know, it's gonna be more of something Nintendo's pushing. And she's right, there was a revision, but there aren't any other colors as far as we know, and Nintendo's not really advertising this at all, right? It's just if there's a different box and it's in stores. So I'm not saying she's like, maybe the colors thing, that was just like her speculation, but when she said it, it wasn't clear. So, you know, there's just kind of like there's that line, like, she wasn't wrong that there was a change, but the way she made it sound to some people was that it was going to be more than it actually is. Right?
And I would also say, and funny enough, I also did a video about this. Wow, oh, it keeps going back. I did a whole thing about like if you are someone who enjoys leaks and you enjoy partaking in talking about leaks and all those kind of things, make sure that the leakers themselves, even if they get something wrong, you don't treat them like garbage as a person. Don't like tweet at them saying something rude or anything like that, because
oftentimes you're just shooting the messenger.
right, exactly. You're just shooting the messenger, and a lot of the time, some of these leakers, the reason why they stay or disappear at times is because they don't want to deal with like this flood of fans who are disappointed that their favorite character didn't get in when they thought it was gonna get it. So I've had my fair share of that as well.
And you're very careful about when you have information. You're oftentimes you hold it back because you don't want to put it out there, because you get it. Like, yeah, people can get really excited and you don't know if your information is correct until it's correct. So it's officially announced anyway, right?
Right.
There's always that doubt until it's actually confirmed.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just like sometimes, sure, I get it. Like sometimes some people fake being leaker, and you get mad at those people, whatever, and they're just looking for attention. I get that. I understand that, but still don't do that. And sometimes the leaker is legit. You just don't. They sometimes I know people who are leakers now who don't go out in public and say anything because they don't want to deal with that. You would probably hear more if that wasn't the thing, to be honest. But some people don't. Like I actually knew about some like stuff early on for Smash that I just decided not to because I didn't want to deal with it at first either.
Yeah, I mean it can get toxic. I know that for sure.
Yeah, treat everyone how you'd like to be treated. Simple, the more you know message. So like star flying across the sky.
Well, some people are masochistic.
Unfortunately, but well, maybe not unfortunately, but
well, I don't know. Yeah, no. So Computer Robots added me. He said, "Do you guys want the following up the Fire? Do you want the following up the Fire Emblem Three Houses characters: Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, or Byleth to be a representative in Smash? No." And I love Fire Emblem. The background music is still the monastery music, because I love this game. It's freaking fantastic, but I do not want any of those characters in Smash. Just no.
Yeah, I think Fire Emblem was just too like I love Fire Emblem. Don't get me wrong. I also love Smash, and I feel that Fire Emblem just got really quick to add certain characters in, because in terms of the Fire Emblem fan base, Corrin is a very unpopular character, and not a lot of people like Corrin in the fan base, but they're still in Smash anyways because they were trying to push the game.
Yeah.
So it's and as a Smash player, I don't really want to see Corrin go either because they have a completely unique moveset. So it's like this rock and a hard place. Like I don't think Corrin deserves representation, but I don't want that moveset to go away either.
Right, it's a fun character.
Yeah.
Like Corrin's a dragon girl boy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, no, I think it's a great character. I didn't even play that game, but I think it's a cool character. So, I mean, yeah, no. I can't really see it happening. Granted, I think Edelgard is awesome, right? And she starts off as an axe user, so if we get an axe user, that'd be cool, right? Claude uses a bow, so if a character just uses different kind of bow attacks, I guess could kind of happen. Dimitri usually uses a lance, and maybe like you can get him on a horse or like a Pegasus for a Final Smash. Like I can kind of see, and then of course Byleth is the main character, and he gets the special sword, which can extend itself like a kind of like Ivy's like whip blade thing. Or you're playing the Fire Emblem 2, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I'm not far in it, but I am. I got there. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm in chapter. I'm just finished the Battle of the Eagle and Lion. Or lion and
I'm not sure how far.
I'm not sure. It's two animals fighting each other. Name end of chapter 7.
If it's chapter 7, sounds farther than I am, so I'm not really sure. But
yeah, I don't want to risk spoiling it for anybody.
Yeah, if anything, we'll just like end that part of the conversation.
Yeah. Someone's gonna be mad. Oh, you spoiled it. There's gonna be a chapter 7, you monster.
Wait, there's a special sword?
No. No. I mean, that was in the treehouse, though.
Well, what if someone was avoiding the treehouse?
I actually had a conversation with Brandon the other day. He's like, nope, I wasn't paying attention. Why are you bringing up this sword? Like, it's like, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, where were we? I don't know. Oh, yeah, we were just talking about, like, DLC and leaks and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, definitely I'm with you that don't attack anyone. That's just dumb. And, you know, people oftentimes are just the messenger, or they're getting that information from someone else. They don't know if it's true or not. The only thing I can, I guess, maybe fault someone for is to not be clear if this is information they're hearing about or if it's their own opinion. Because sometimes I think it's a little melded together, right? I see that sometimes. And I mean, I think that creates confusion. It can be a little misleading. So there's that.
I can also speak out of personal experience for like some of the people I know.
Yeah.
That will remain nameless for obvious reasons. That some of them can be some leakers can be pretty quick on the draw too, where the second they hear information,
they don't double or triple source. They're just kind of like,
yeah, they
boom.
don't wait for multiple sources. They don't wait for like clarification on like what was said. They just hear something and they go, time to make a tweet.
Right.
And it's not ideal.
Yeah.
It's not ideal at all, because then you're putting out a lot of information that is definitely not going to last. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that I don't see more like YouTubers that have like that are like the leaker, right? Normally it's YouTubers that talk about the leaker, you know, like
right.
I mean, I know you get information, but it's like,
yeah, I think,
you know what I mean? Like, there's been a couple times people have told me things, right? But I won't make a video about that. And there are people who I know get way more information than me. They don't really make a video about that, right? I don't know. Do you have any opinion on that? Because I know you've made a couple of videos on things you've heard, but that's like, you never really rush into that. You never make a video just because you heard something.
Yeah, I think typically what it is, especially with bigger YouTubers, is that bigger YouTubers are typically, not all of them for some reasons, but typically partnered with Nintendo in some capacity or another, or they, gain some, like maybe Nintendo throws them review copies or, anything like that, which is all normal. Like, that's all normal procedure. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would imagine that if you started going into the business of leaking information, that you're not going to be able to continue getting those benefits. If I remember correctly, I think it might have been Emily Rogers or someone else, but they straight up mentioned that they got blacklisted by Nintendo and they were no longer allowed to attend Nintendo events because of it. Because Nintendo, caught wind of that. So I think what it is just a simple case of just like they don't want to start burning bridges.
Makes
Which
sense.
is an understandable position to take in my mind. So,
yeah, that's a good point. It's because I'm not really at the point where I'm like, okay, Nintendo, sponsor me or make me your brand ambassador. Like, so I guess I haven't taken that too much into consideration. But yeah, I mean, that's totally something. I mean, like, a lot of my channel is kind of like talking about and speculating about these things, but it's never. Most of the information I talk about is public. It's all public information. In fact, all of the information I talk about is public information and my interpretation of that public information. There's been a couple times when I'm like, okay, so there's someone I know that mentioned this, but it's never like my main point or my second or tertiary point. It's just kind of something I might mention offhand, like way later on, right? Like it's.
Right.
I understand it, so I guess I just don't really think about that aspect too much, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, why would you? Yeah, the brand deals are important.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, some of them do talk about leakers and whatnot. Like Spawnwave first comes to mind. That,
right, he talks about leakers.
Yeah, he talks about leakers occasionally, and I don't think that will ruin a brand deal of any kind, because that's, again, public information. They can't stop you from talking about something that everyone's talking about at that point in time. But the thing is that depending on like depending on the YouTubers we're talking about, some of them will avoid the ones that they know are real, and they'll talk about the ones they know are not. So that might be something to look at if you want to start theorizing things.
If you listen to a lot of the Game Explain discussions, oftentimes they'll have a discussion right before a direct, and they'll make some really weird offhand predictions that make no sense, and then they come true, right? Because they were predictions.
Also, I also want to say that what convinced me wholeheartedly that Game Explain has inside sources, especially John Cartwright, was that I had my own inside sources telling me during the time of the Grinch leak that the Grinch leak was fake, and I didn't say anything until like a little bit later. Like I let kind of like the hype of the Grinch leak kind of die down a little bit before I said anything. But the whole thing I remember was that a lot of people were like joking and like kind of roasting Game Explain for not like addressing the Grinch leak in a video or anything like that, because they were like, everyone was convinced that it was real. And then when I saw that Game Explain, the people who would get so many things right by chance, suddenly decide to not talk about a leak that I know is like fake to an extent, made me feel like they're not covering it because they know for a fact it's not real. So they don't want to share that information.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my my interpretation of that.
What was interesting is I think some people interpret it the opposite way, though, right? Where, they're not talking about it. Nintendo must be really angry about this leak, so they're not going to put a video out on it because they don't want to anger Nintendo, right?
Right. And I think the problem with
Nintendo may have still been angry about the leak, too, because it may have been getting people to expect way too much, which obviously would affect the hype cycle for Smash Brothers.
Right. I think the issue with that line of thinking would have been accurate if that fit Game Explain's like pattern of how they handled leaks before. But that's not how they usually have treated it.
No, if there's like something that's not announced yet, they make a video on it. That happens.
They'll make a video. They'll have a discussion, and then like John Cartwright would be the guy who just goes like out of nowhere, like, "Oh, I think they're gonna announce this," and it would be like the most random,
like Final Fantasy 13X. And also Final Fantasy 8, and also remake of Secret of Mana.
And Kirby's Epic Yarn, the Wii game from like 10 years ago, will be on 3DS.
Right, like these things that no one necessarily like really wants,
like these completely random
Sonic DX Ultra Edition.
that all come out true, and then that doesn't look suspicious, but then when they finally don't talk about something that seems to be real to a lot of people, then they think like, oh, they would be ignoring it because they would, because it's real. Well, if that were the case, then why did they talk about all these other things?
Yeah.
That's not what they've done before. That goes against how they've treated it. So because the way I looked at it, I knew that they would do that, and I knew that the Grinch leak was fake, and I saw that Game Explain was not, addressing it. My mindset was like, oh, so they know too.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that a lot of the bigger channels were not talking about it. Like the much bigger channels. Not like the 30, 40K channels, like the 100, 200, 300K channels or a million. Like they weren't talking about it. So at the time I thought it was interesting. And I think the thing that bothered me was just that they just said it's not real. They didn't offer any explanations or speculation, so they just said, oh, I don't think it's real. Oh, I don't think it's real. Okay. And the thing is, at the time, there is like this list of things that people thought made sense to sort of support it, right? So that was my issue, just basically, okay, so there's all these different points to support it, and then everyone that's saying it's not real is just saying it's not real. For me, it just wasn't satisfying, like, my desire to hear, like, evidence or supporting claims, right? So that's what... It was a little confusing at the same time, but I also agree that there was a lot of confirmation bias, right? Like, oh, okay, this, oh, okay, this, oh, this all makes sense, this must mean that. Like, right. Definitely there was a lot of confirmation bias at the time, because we wanted it to be real.
Yeah, and the other thing, like, speaking as someone who knew for a fact that it was fake, there was also no way I can convince someone otherwise. Because, here's the thing, if I would have came out, right, or if any of these people came out, I mean, Game Explain technically did, and came out and just said, oh, it's fake, everyone, including yourself, including many people in the chat, I'm sure, or many people just in general, are gonna ask why, how is it fake? Why? What makes it fake? Right? You would want to, like you said, evidence. The problem is that the people who know the real information, they don't know how they made the leak.
Right. They have no idea. They just have insiders that tell them what's actually happening.
Exactly. So we can tell you it's fake, but we can't tell you how they faked it. That's the difference. So I think I even did it with myself. I even said, like, straight up, I don't know how they made this, but it's not real. Whatever it is that they made and whatever they did to make it is just not real. And I think maybe GameXplain was coming at it from that angle, if I had to think about it, because they knew it was fake. They just didn't know how they faked it.
See, I think what would have helped is if they came out and said, hey, look, we can't tell you the specifics, but we have, from what we've heard, what we're seeing in this leak just doesn't add up at all, right? Like, not that, just, like, something along those lines that just made it clear, is like, hey, look, we've heard from our personal sources. From what we've heard of our personal sources, there's no way this is real, right? Like, if they just said that more clearly, I think there could have been something there, right? Like, I'm actually seeing in a comment from Sinus Joey saying, also in the GameXplain's first video talk about the Grinch leak, Derek was complaining that the leak was blurry like most others, but he never mentioned it was a video from Snapchat. So, like, if you don't bring, like, don't just say, oh, it's blurry. Like, if you actually know something, I think there's a way you can say that without breaking any sort of, like, NDAs or anything like that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on, like, what their relationship with Nintendo
right,
is.
And I don't understand that entirely, so maybe that what they could do was their only option.
Because maybe a big portion of that is, not admitting they even have insider sources at all, right? Maybe that's why they
True.
They market the discussions as, like, predictions rather than, like, oh, I have sources, this is what I've heard.
Yeah. Totally get that. That could be the case, and like you said, like, you knew it wasn't, but you also didn't really have a way to convince someone that it wasn't. Yeah. So
the most I could say was, like, I know it's fake. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there you go. But there's a couple more things I want to cover about the hero before we move on. Another interesting thing that I noticed, that there is a pattern for it, because as you suggested, right, with the whole Mii costume thing, there wasn't an established pattern yet. It was just one pack, right? But we have established a pattern for new modes to come with each character, right? So when we got the Joker, he came up with a new update, and we got the stage builder, and there's another mode that I'm forgetting, but something not as exciting, but it was technically another mode. And we got a few other, like, little mode changes and things. We got the online tourney mode with the 4.0 update and the hero. So now we have an established pattern of new content, free content being added to Smash Brothers alongside a new challenger pack. So I'm definitely, I was already of the belief, but now I'm, like, more confident about it. Then moving forward, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to be getting more modes, and usually they'll probably be coming alongside another challenger.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah. Also, is there any mode in particular that you use often, or from the new ones?
From the new ones?
Yeah, that they just added from the hero. Because I feel
to be honest, I haven't even gotten into that yet.
Okay.
I mean, I can see myself getting into the online tourney mode. I'm not gonna use the spectator mode, and I'm not gonna use the easy difficulty.
Okay, no, I was wondering because the main issue I've always had, well, I guess it's not a main issue I've always had, but rather the issue that I guess I currently have is that I like that they're adding new modes, but very often than not, the modes that they add are modes that I use, like, once just to try it out, and then I never go back into it.
Right.
So I was wondering about the, like, what they can do to make whatever modes they add something that would make me want to keep coming back to it.
So here's the thing. I thought the stage builder thing was really cool. I'm not really the kind of person that likes to build stages, so it's not something for me. But that definitely created there's a lot of talk about that, right? About that stage builder mode. There's a lot of videos and things seen on Twitter with that for a while, right? So I think that was definitely a great decision to put in the game. but that's definitely not for me. Like, I'm still waiting for like a break the targets kind of mode. Like, I want that personally because I like taking each character, going through different like platforming stages and breaking those targets and going for a time. Like, that to me would be something that I would probably put a lot of time into. These other things aren't really something that I care too much about. The easy difficulty, no. Maybe if there was a harder difficulty, I would have been like, all right, do. Or if there was like a difficulty that kind of mixed up the gameplay a little bit, right? That would have been something that I'd be like, okay, that's really cool. I haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, I feel that I like making, like, okay, well, Mario Maker, I like making levels. I don't really like making stages because there's no real goal in making a stage. It's just mostly just kind of just what you're standing on, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it isn't.
I mean, you can make it crazy.
You can, but it's not like super in depth. Like, you can't just literally make anything. Like,
It is a much better stage builder than previous games, though.
Oh yeah, it's easily like the best one. I guess.
And you can at least share it too.
Yeah. For me, it's more of just like, it's another one of those modes where I will look at it pretty quick, maybe download a stage here and there, but I won't really like spend a lot of time into it. Well, Mario Maker, I would spend a lot of time into it because there's a goal behind what you're making, rather than just like what you're standing on, if that makes sense.
So, right, no, that makes sense. What kind of mode would you like to see be added?
It would have to be a mode that like rewards coming back too often. I feel like something with roguelike elements, I think, would kind of help it in some cases.
Roguelike elements?
Yeah, think something like, okay, you remember what was that mode called? The 3DS mode. What was
Smash
it called?
Run?
Yeah, think something like Smash Run, like Kirby Air Ride, excuse me. Smash Run like with everyone playing together, but it's randomly generated and whatnot, and maybe it rewards players by doing different things. Maybe played online. I just feel like most of the modes that I have now are not modes that I go back to. I think the only mode that I've come back to a few times has been the online tourney mode, and that's because I'm a competitive player.
Right.
So I do come back to it every once in a while, but even then, that's not perfect. Which, by the way, I'm gonna have a video out about that exact topic soon. But shameless plug.
That's fair. Link to his channel is in the description below, guys. Check it out.
But yeah, like this. Like, I like the modes that they've added. They're not bad. I just feel like they're very, like, Stage Builder being the better examples, but most of them have been pretty shallow inclusions to me. Like, very easy mode, I'm never using that. I'm not using the editor that they've added at all.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spectate often, so I'm not gonna be using that. There's just not a lot that I use. Especially the VR thing that they've added, I know that was not part of like one of those big fighter updates. They added that. I don't use that either. It's just most of the things they've added I don't use, and when I do use them, I use them like once or twice at most, and then I never use them again.
Yeah, I mean, like, so when you talk about having a mode that rewards you to kind of keep you coming back, one of my things is that I feel like in Smash Ultimate, there isn't anything that I can get that I'm gonna be really excited about in the game, if that makes any sense. Like, if I beat Classic Mode, oh, I got more tickets! Woohoo! Like, oh, I got more little stickers or little bonus points for World of Light that I don't feel like finishing. Woo! Like, those are, like, the rewards that you get aren't really that much, because I already have all the characters. Maybe there's songs. I think there's still songs I haven't unlocked, maybe? Right, you can still unlock songs. Maybe that. I
think it also helps that, like, well, I mean, it does.
And for the record, I love the songs, right? Like, actually, if there are any songs that I haven't unlocked yet, I wish there was a more clear path to unlocking them.
I get, like, what also doesn't help my case is that I have like somewhere around over 600 or something hours into Smash Ultimate. So I've already done everything that there is to do in that game, other than just play the game,
right?
Play online and whatnot.
So here's the thing, though. Oh, sorry. No, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like some kind of interest, like the reward. Yeah, you're right. The rewards, are, like, especially for someone who did everything in the game, like the rewards are just never gonna be something that's interesting. So I just feel like there should be something that would I don't know, use the excess amount of stuff that you have for something. I don't know what though, but yeah.
Okay, so let's look at Fortnite. Fortnite has done a great job of keeping itself relevant, right? And all the things you can unlock in Fortnite do not offer any competitive advantage, what I think is also another challenge to it too, right? Because how do you continue to offer up content for people to continue to push and unlock and acquire, but it doesn't even offer you competitive advantage? Like, that's tough. And so what do? They continually make interesting ultimate skins. They create different like dances and emojis you can do, and they also sometimes give you toys to play around with the environment, but don't necessarily give you any competitive advantage, right? So different things like that are just kind of like fun could be something interesting that they can Nintendo can maybe learn from. Now, I'm not saying that they should put like emojis and the Fortnite dance in Smash Brothers, but what if you could unlock more taunts? What if you could unlock more alt skins and they could add that through updates in Smash Brothers? Like, I mean, wouldn't people want that?
I mean, they could learn from it in the sense of like having alternate costumes for characters, or maybe because Hero has 4 different versions of Hero.
Yeah.
So and Joker has like the school uniform, and Joker, I guess, or Phantom Thief Joker. So I guess in theory you can have like, I don't know, certain characters just have like different outfits that they've worn in their different games. Like you can have Link wear different armors that he's had through Breath of the Wild as like separate, different skins, or something along those lines. Or maybe even like, let's say Sheik, for example. Sheik has a new design in Ultimate. Maybe you can get a skin that makes her look like how she did in Smash 4 or Melee.
Yeah. And then there's the N64 skins, like...
Yeah.
Like there is honestly tons and tons of things they could add. Now, the only issue is that there's obviously more options to add for certain characters as opposed to others, right? Like, Mario and Link have maybe hundreds of options, right? While... I don't know, let's say Shulk. Actually, even Shulk has tons of options too. I'm trying to think of a character that doesn't have like tons and tons of options, because
probably like Duck Hunt, maybe.
Duck Hunt would be one of them. Yeah, like maybe you could just start giving it like hats or something,
Yeah, like just give him like all different like dog patterns, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah, make it look like
he already has that in a way.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
maybe they could do one where they make him look like a poodle, right? Like there's things you can do. They have to get a little creative with some of the characters, but there are things you could do.
Yeah, they could definitely do something, and I mean, it wouldn't, even if some characters got more attention than others, that wouldn't be unlikely, because a lot of fighting games kind of do that. They usually have like the more popular characters have like more skins than like the ones that are never used, for instance. I'm not even sure, like, I mean, they could do something like that. Like, if they did that, I'd be down for that. Like, I'd be totally on board for that. I'm just thinking, like, I would like some kind of mode that rewards me for constantly coming back in some way. Because I've gotten all the spirits in the game. I've beaten World of Light. I've gotten all the endings.
I have an idea. So, let's say this fighter pass, right? With Banjo, let's say we get the home run contest finally, right? And then maybe we get... I'm probably being optimistic here, right? Because my ideas for modes sound really fun, while Nintendo's are like more subtle quality kind of improvement modes, right? But maybe let's say with the 4th pack, let's say we get Doom Guy and we get Smash Run, and then the 5th pack we get Leon S. Kennedy and we get a Break the Targets, right? So there we go. That's the Fighter's Pass. That's all fun and good, right? But then Nintendo announces the start of next year, we're gonna have a new season pass, but it's gonna be different than the previous season pass. It's actually a season pass that will not include any more new stages, right? But instead, they're gonna offer 6 new characters. One comes out every 2 months, right? And they'll come with songs, they'll come with spirits, but each one will also come with an echo. So like maybe there's like a character and an echo coming. So there's actually like 12 characters coming, but most of them are just echoes and there's no stages. So just a little bit more characters, which I know may sound crazy, but hear me out, right? Between echoes and newcomers and no stages, they have more characters coming than in the Fighter's Pass throughout next year, right? But they also There's also more alt skins coming, right? A lot more alt skins coming for different characters, and there's more songs being added to the game. But they offer up a mode that comes out early next year that as you play through it, actually that's when they come out with Smash Run instead. And as you progress into Smash Run, maybe like another mini adventure mode, you get more rewards, you unlock more alt skins, more echoes, things like that. That would keep people coming back and playing more and more Smash to kind of unlock more points to unlock these different alts and echoes.
Yeah, I mean, if they had, that's why I thought of the procedurally generated like dungeon idea, just primarily because if it was like World of Light, so to speak, where everything's in the same location always, then it wouldn't be too hard for someone who does nothing but play Smash like myself to just kind of speed run through it, unlock all the things they want to unlock, and then beat the whole thing. Especially if it's like a miniature version of World of Light, like it just wouldn't take that long.
Yeah.
It would be cool, like I would be down for that, but I'm thinking in the terms of I'm thinking in terms of something that, like, regardless of how much time you dumped into it, there's a reason why you want to play it, if that makes sense. Like an alternate mode. For instance, a mode I really enjoy playing that just is not available often is the side modes they have when you play locally. Smashdown and Squad Strike. Both of them are modes I really enjoy playing, but they're only available locally. So if they took like what they did with tournament mode, where they took the mode and just put it online, then I'd be all for it.
Oh, another thing they could do, and I would love that too, like they should just make them online. Absolutely. That's something I can maybe see happen with one of the packs. Instead of like a break the targets, we probably will get just those modes available online, right? Like maybe that'll happen, which would be good. But maybe they could also offer like a season pass sort of thing. Like not a pass, but like a season where you're competing online and you within that season you're playing. And actually they could even make it like a draft too, where you can only have certain characters available, right, for like a week or a month period, and you have to use those characters and you play against different matchups throughout this little season they have, right? So that just keeps people coming back to compete throughout a season.
Yeah, I could see that, because they definitely
basically like an extended tournament mode or something with a draft to like switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, because I feel that they need something like that. Or what could be a fun idea is that they could take something out of, and I don't know if people are familiar with Overwatch like that, but Overwatch has this one mode where they randomly will pick the character for you, and every time you die you get a different character. It's kind of like Squad Strike, except you don't have a choice who it is.
That'd be interesting.
So I think, like, what if they did like mystery character mode or something, where you go online and you pick it to participate, obviously, and then it's 3 stocks like usual, like everyone always puts 3 stocks, and then stock 1 you just randomly start off of Donkey Kong, and then you get spiked, and then you end up with King Dedede next, and then you get spiked again, you end up with Link. Like, I think it'd just be a fun idea, and I feel like that's something that myself would get more into, because typically whenever a new character comes out and they have these updates come out, I always do this thing where day 1 I stream the character. I'll spend an hour playing with the character, and then I'll do all the new features and whatnot, and I almost always am done within 2 to 3 hours. And I just feel like that's very quick to kind of, like, I think that when Hero came out, it was a 3-hour long stream, and within that stream I got all the spirits. I played every single mode that they added at least once. I spent an hour of that training the hero, and then I got him into Elite Smash, like, within those 3 hours. And I just feel like I would like a mode that feels more substantial, if that makes sense. Even if I have to pay for it, by the way.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I want more bosses. I little disappointed with some of the classic modes. Like I think wish there was a few more bosses. That would have been nice. Yeah, bosses. Give me bosses and alt costumes and a season pass and an adventure mode and like targets and Gino
I don't
and Rex and Pyra.
Like I like what they've added, and not bad. But at the same time, like I said, especially with online tournament mode, they're not perfect. So I don't see myself coming back to them and really playing them. online tournament mode is probably the one feature they've added since the game has launched that I have played the most of. And I think it's mostly because online tournament mode feels like the only mode they've added that caters to the type of player that I am.
Give me a boss rush mode and break the targets.
I would be cool with that. I probably won't spend too much time on it.
See, that's the thing. For me, I care more of like that arcadey experience, right? I'm not as big into like online competitive play as you are. But hey, if you give me like something to play for, right, online, right, like that seasonal pass thing I was talking about, then I'd probably would play more, right? And actually, the tournament thing sounds fun. I just haven't gone into it yet. Although at the same time, whenever I play online, I get my butt kicked a lot, so I just kind of feel like this is gonna be a one and done, maybe two and done sort of deal for me.
The good thing, and I guess I'll give you like a sneak peek of my opinion on it, just a bit, because like I said, I have a video coming out about this topic. But the one positive thing I can say about the current tournament mode going on is that they have a tournament for every kind of player in a way.
Okay.
For 2 days or so, they'll have like, you know, their competitive one that's one-on-one, no items, all that stuff, which is where you'd probably find me playing. But then after those 2 days are up, they'll have a different kind of tournament that's 2 days that's with items on, 4-player free-for-all, and just like complete like chaos basically.
Just for the record, I like playing 1v1 no items. I just always get my butt kicked.
I mean, you can try. You see how far you get.
Maybe you're right. Yeah. The problem is that sometimes I do tournament mode locally and I still lose to the computers.
You'll probably just hope you find the perfect combination of bad players, and you'll finally.
But this is my day. This is it. Here we go.
Just keep at it.
Come on, hero. Come on. I just need to draw a magic burst each time. There we go. But let's check in with the chat, and we got to move on with the topics here. But I mean, I think we're both fair. We both like Hero, right? I feel like I might like him more, even though you probably played with him more. Just because you're a bigger Smash player than I am. That's for certain. And actually, we made a video together where you kicked my butt. But I did almost get you with that Falcon Punch.
You did, actually.
I didn't win the match though. I killed myself.
No, you didn't. But
I should have won that match, but I killed myself twice. Yeah, out of 3.
It's all on my channel. Find the Smashdown challenge featuring Andres.
It's there. You can watch me scream and cry for like 15 minutes, pretty much.
I think it might be almost 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that. But let's see here. I know you guys added me a few times, so let me check in with it. So Computer Robots, on Just Restart, needs alternate costumes like Wedding Bowser and Peach and sports outfit for each Mario character, Twilight Link, Ganon, and Zelda, etc. I would love all those costumes. There's just so many options. There really is. Sal was saying, I want Conquer and Professor Egad. Great choices. You have incredible taste. NAK, if there's any Capcom rep that I would want, it's Amaterasu. His avatar is Amaterasu, who is a really, really cool dog. It's a cool dog and a great game. Absolutely. Silence just saying Sans and Gino. I mean,
I'd be open to.
I'm open to either. I don't know how. I feel like Gino. I don't know. It's like Sans is kind of like, oh, I'm in a character for an indie game that's kind of like a meme, right? But then there's the Gino, which is like a character that was only used once and he's a side character, but he's kind of like a cult, has a bit of a cult like following. Right, so there's Gino and Sans are leaders for different cults.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
I guess like Sans is just the modern day. I don't know. Like, he's not Gino, but he's like just a meme that everyone loves referencing.
Yeah, he's popular, but he's almost like Waluigi popular.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I would
he's
say
not
like,
a Nintendo character.
No, he's not.
And he's actually just an indie representative. Like, if we don't get Shovel Knight or Shantae, why would we get Sans? You know?
I mean, Undertale was a big deal of its time, though.
I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I just, but like, Shovel Knight got an amiibo.
Yeah.
It got an amiibo. I think it's cool.
I mean, if there was anyone that would, I guess it would be like
He got.
I
He's, I
guess
mean,
it would
he's
be
an
him.
assist trophy.
Yeah.
So you know that is something, right? And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'd be weird if like it was like, oh, okay, we're just gonna announce a whole bunch of DLC characters, and guess what? They're all from indie games. Shantae, Sans, Shovel Knight. Here we come, right?
I mean, regardless of the three, I'd be down for it. So.
Right. I mean, that'd be fun for sure. I'm with you there. So where are we here? Navi isn't one of Young Link's taunts. Yeah, right. When he is it, I vaguely remember what you're talking about, but that is true. Computer robots. He added a lot of us actually. I just think of something that why should we have more characters after this Fighters Pass? Don't we have enough array that can last for a lifetime? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
there may not be anything else after the Fighters Pass. There really may not be.
I will also make the claim that while that is perfectly accurate and true, it has become in the FGC or the fighting game community, it has become almost the norm for fighting games to have more than one season.
They usually have 2.
Yeah, so it's not that I think, oh, this is not enough, I want more. It's more of just like, this has kind of become the norm for fighting games. And obviously, we know very well as Nintendo fans that Nintendo doesn't always follow the norm.
No.
So it's perfectly possible that they won't make a season 2 or anything.
But maybe they won't follow the norm, and they'll have a season pass every year for 5 years.
Oh man, then actually I think one of the games that are out now is close to that. I think Tekken 7 might be close
Really?
to that actually.
Wow.
I think they're on their 3rd season.
Yeah, I don't see that happening for Smash. But I think, like, look at Splatoon. They supported that for at least 2 years with new content.
Yeah.
They were always adding free new content for over 2 years. So if that's like a benchmark for how Nintendo's gonna handle their like games that are big online, then it wouldn't surprise me if they also treat Smash like Splatoon and support it for 2 years with content.
Especially since, you know, I feel like if they announce season 2 for Smash Brothers, the only people who would feel a little iffy about that would be the people who don't normally play fighting games, because it's already become like almost expected from a lot of fighting game players. Like I have a good amount of friends that play a lot of different, you know, a wider range of like different fighting games, and a lot of them just kind of assume that Smash is gonna have a second season without really, you know, knowing more, because of the fact not knowing anything about Nintendo or how they do things. It's mostly just based on just fighting games have done that for a while now, and it's almost like the norm to do so.
Right, and I agree with that. The other thing I want to note is that even though there is so much content in Smash Brothers, if you've been listening to us throughout this podcast, there's still obviously tons of other things they could do, right? And if this is the ultimate Smash Brothers, maybe Sakurai wants to continue to push this to really be the ultimate Smash Brothers, right? Not to mention, developing DLC is not nearly as strenuous or demanding as full course load of the main game, right? It's easier. There's less staff involved. The timing's not as hard. There's less stakes. So him doing that, you probably can still do that, and I don't know exactly how it works, but he may even be able to start working on something else at the same time if he wanted to, right? So, or maybe he just wants to take it easy. Like, some people like to make the argument, oh, Sakurai works so hard, he needs a break. True, but maybe he isn't even working that hard. He's just, working at a healthy, comfortable pace, taking it just somewhat easy during this DLC period, and he's just, enjoying this amazing Smash period. Like, maybe that's what it is, right? Maybe this is his 2-year vacation where he's just making DLC for Smash.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know how hard the development is, so that's just my speculation.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, it's not like it's a situation where Sakurai is like, oh man, I'm so like exhausted, I hate working here.
I think he's having a good time.
The man enjoys doing this. Like,
he just did a Let's Play.
Yeah, like I think it's just he's just a workaholic, I think is what it is. And I feel like while some fans they care about most fans care about Sakurai. Like we obviously want him to stay healthy or whatever, but what does Sakurai want to do? Like what does he want, that, or does he want to make a second season and do more work on this game?
We can't know that. We don't know that, right? But
yeah, exactly.
I do want to say that I'll bring up the Geno thing. He's wanted Geno. Like he's personally stated he wants Geno in the game, right? When the final Smash Direct came out, what happened? He brought up Rex and Pyra. He loves Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's one of his favorite games as of late. And he said the only reason they're not in the game as playable characters is because of timing, right? So 2 years later, right, or a year later, if he's willing to make more characters beyond this Fighter's Pass, why wouldn't he? So there's room for this to happen. And I'm just saying, like, it's not going to surprise me. But at the same time, if it doesn't happen, I'm prepared for that too.
Yeah, like I think it's just like 50-50.
I literally stole words right out of my mouth. 50-50. Yeah. Yeah.
It can go either way.
Well, let's move down the chat. Let's see here. NAK, do you think the Smash Direct in September will be the gameplay demo for Banjo and Kazooie? Do I think there will be a Smash Direct? I don't think there's going to be a Direct, actually. I think the way they've handled it, it's not really called a Direct, right? But they have these presentations. I think that's going to continue for the next few characters. Now, there may be a Nintendo Direct, right, that could include, like, a character reveal. I could see that.
I think that's, at this point, just more likely.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty I don't remember exactly the timing, but I think, isn't there a Nintendo Direct almost every September or so?
Yes.
So maybe in that direct they'll have like Banjo release and then they announce the next one.
Yeah, they could do that. Now my only thing about that is that the Joker got like a 15-minute video or something. The Hero got like a 15-minute video, so I think he's gonna want to do like another long-winded sort of thing like that for Banjo. So, right. I mean, it effectively is a Smash Direct, right? The both of them are like Smash Direct. They basically were. They just weren't called Smash Directs. So I do kind of expect that for Banjo. It's just I don't know how the time is gonna work because I do think there's gonna be another major Nintendo Direct. Like you said, Shifty, is usually September, but there was also usually a major Nintendo Direct in January, and Nintendo delayed it into February, right? So it may not happen in September, maybe in October, right? So I could see like somewhere between September and October is going to be a major Nintendo Direct, and maybe sometime during that time Banjo comes out as well, and maybe gets his own presentation. It may be separate, like maybe late September we get the Banjo thing, right? And he comes out, and then 2 weeks later we get the major Nintendo Direct, and that's when we get the 4th character announced. And then at the Game Awards, we get the 5th character announced, and he comes out, a month or so later.
Yeah, and I think that'd be I think that's a very safe idea of when they would announce these characters, because I think you're right. Like it's very clear that they like doing this like presentation showcase of the character rather than just being like, oh, here he's out.
Yeah.
So maybe somewhere around the same time frame, you'll have Banjo's whole like presentation, so to speak, and then you'll have exactly what you mentioned. Like I think that's a very safe prediction to have like the 4th character announced in that Direct coming out like late that time span, maybe November, December or something.
Yeah.
And then Game Awards, like just like they did with Joker, they announced the final character.
Right, along with more footage for Breath of the Wild 2.
Hopefully, yes.
That's my prediction. But and actually, now that I think about it a little bit more, right? What I could kind of see happening actually is that maybe the Nintendo Direct comes out either late September, early October, right? And what it is that they'll show off Banjo very briefly, like, oh, you want to hear more about Banjo? Next week, there's a little presentation coming out for him, right? And maybe they'll also have a trailer revealing the next character.
Yeah. I think it's possible. Although I do think that they probably wouldn't say anything about Banjo. I feel like that's just something that's gonna just happen. Because
My only thing is that I think it'd be weird if they have a reveal for the fourth character without kind of doing like an information blowout for Banjo.
What I mean is like I don't think it will happen in the same like breath, if that makes sense. Like it wouldn't happen in the same like direct or so.
Right. I almost want the Banjo thing to come first.
I think Banjo will come first.
Yeah. The only reason I think it might not is that there's a lot of speculation that there's going to be a Banjo game coming. Something with Banjo coming to Switch. And that's something that I could see being announced with the Nintendo Direct. But it doesn't have to be. There's tons of games that are just dropped. Just announced.
Right.
And technically, they could still announce a game even with the Smash presentation. If they really wanted to, they could. Like, they could do like a, oh, Banjo's coming to Nintendo. So it's just showcasing just the Banjo-Kazooie on Nintendo, which includes talking about Banjo and Smash, right? And when he's coming out, but it was also like, hey, look, we're porting over Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie to Switch on the eShop. And they're remastered. They're in widescreen HD and they look pretty.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think... I guess my mindset on the whole thing is mostly just like, I think that Banjo would come up beforehand just because I feel like they want him... I want they would want the spotlight on him.
Yeah.
To run its course, basically, and then they can have, like, the attention on the next person.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I don't... I feel like Banjo would come first, and then you would have the Direct, and it would be two totally separate things. I don't even think they'll even mention it. At most, in terms of the Banjo presentation, I feel like the most they'll do in terms of mentioning it is doing what they did for the Hero, where they just kind of mention, like, a day prior, like, oh, hey, we're gonna have this presentation. Here's this.
In which case, maybe we don't get a Nintendo Direct until, like, mid-October.
Maybe.
Because we don't need one, right? We don't, like, we have all the information we need for games coming up until Luigi's Mansion. Like, to just fill in a couple gaps, like, they could probably put up a trailer for Link's Awakening, you know, put up a trailer for Astral Chain, just, you know, media stuff like that, but they don't need, like, a major Nintendo Direct, it seems, until later on. Like, I do think there's probably going to be at least one published Nintendo game coming out in December, because Nintendo's done that the last 2 years with the Switch. Now, I don't think it's going to be as big as Smash or Xenoblade, right, but it wouldn't shock me if, say, we get, like, Pikmin 3, for example, like a port of that in December.
I'm not sure.
And I could see that being announced at a Direct, say, like, October. Or September.
Yeah.
And just, the whole Banjo thing kind of confuses me on how they're going to handle the timing, because they do need to eventually announce the fourth character, too.
Yeah. And everything's supposed to be out by February. So...
For sure, one's going to be at the Game Awards. Like, I'm like on the 90...
like, that's a pretty safe bet, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I look at it, I think a Direct is also a pretty safe bet on the fourth character now.
Right, it really just comes on the timing, because I agree with you that they'd want to get Banjo out there before they announce the fourth one, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, they technically revealed both Banjo and Hero kind of at the same time, so maybe Banjo's not as far off as we think, right? Maybe it's less than 2.5 months from now, right? Like, what if he comes out next month?
I mean, yeah. I think, like, September is, like, the earliest you'll see Banjo. Like,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
September.
Yeah. That's the earliest. The latest being, like...
October.
I don't even know. I feel like that's, like, the only time it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about it, like, okay, because if you release it October, then what, you're gonna announce the fourth character in November and then release in December, and then you announce the next character in December and release them in January? Like, that seems very strict on the timing. So I feel like Banjo coming out in September is just the timing that it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, Nintendo has done weirder things, so I mean, they could do that. They could release them later if they wanted to.
Oh, NAK wants a guh. So I don't know if you left. He was saying bye, so hopefully he got to hear the guh. But there you go. So where are we here? Computer Run is saying, I think that they need to work on more modes and characters because I think that this is Smash Ultimate, right? And the one thing that it does lack is the modes. So, you know, I mean, we're not really... We're kind of on the same page. I think they could add a few more modes to kind of keep us coming back.
Right.
Yellow Kazoo, hello! Springman for Smash. I doubt it. I mean, if Springman was for Smash, that would kind of throw everything out of the window. People are like, what? No, he's an assist trophy. This can't be.
And then it opens the floodgates of all the people who have characters they wanted.
Waluigi, Isaac.
Oh no.
Shovel Knight.
No, Waluigi thing will come back in full force.
Andross. It'd be fun, you know? Goombella for Smash, Stab64 suggests. That'd be hilarious. The Yellow Kazoo, Ribbon Girl then. Just a Mii costume, actually. So...
I'm sure she is a Mii costume. But, I feel like if they were gonna add a character, they want the main character first, though. Like, from a new franchise, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's rare that, like, they'll have, like... They represent a new game as a whole, and they don't pick the main character to begin with.
I mean, yeah, at the same time, like, I don't really feel like assist trophies should not allow a character to make it in, right? It's just, I don't think... What I think it is that... So, for example, Isaac was announced as an assist trophy in the Final Smash Direct, right? Like, it makes no sense to have an assist trophy for Isaac, and then to... just also announce him as a character newcomer at the same time. Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But let's say a year from now there's a second Fighters Pass, right? And a new Golden Sun game had come out between that time span, right? Then I'd be like, okay, all right, then you can do it. Then I think you can do it. Like, so I don't really think the premise of, oh my god, there's two characters on the stage at the same time is a big deal. That happens already. Like, you know, you go online, you could play two heroes. There's a good chance you will play two heroes. Or when Joker came out, there's a good chance you'd play with two Jokers, you know? Right. So, like, I don't think the premise of having two characters on at once is an issue. On top of that, if they really wanted to, there's so many assist trophies out there, right? Like, you could turn off that particular assist trophy if someone is using that character, right? Maybe. Or it just doesn't matter, which I think is the right way to go. So that's my personal thoughts on it. Like, I think assist trophies shouldn't actually deconfirm. I just think if one is coming out, like the character shouldn't come out at the same time as it. So if there's DLC later down the road, I guess technically Waluigi could be there, but I feel like Waluigi isn't high up on the priority list with Nintendo or Sakurai.
Yeah. I mean,
we still don't talk about Pokemon.
Oh, that is a topic.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just, like, if they really wanted to put an assist trophy character, they could just, like, replace the character with someone that can do the same thing. Like, if Isaac is the person in question, like, instead of, you know, you add Isaac as a character, and then you switch the assist trophy out with Matthew.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and then it would make sense. It would be the same effect. It would do exactly the same thing. You don't have to remove an assist trophy because a character got in, right? And you get the character. Yeah.
There you go. And if there's like some concerns, like, oh, but then that assist trophy is no longer in the game. Well, maybe it's either or. But when Isaac is on the stage as a playable character, it's automatically Matthew as an assist trophy if he appears.
Right. It could be like the was that one stage, the Spirit Track stage, where like if Toon Link is being played, then he's not on the train. It's Alfonso, I think.
There you go. Then that's it's not really. Yeah, I see that. That's fairly easy to accomplish. So who would replace Waluigi? Toadette. I don't know.
I mean,
Waluigi.
All he does is tennis attacks. So it's just like, what other tennis character can you put in? Like Pauline? That would look weird though, I imagine.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, it's good. She's like stomping people.
Yeah, because like.
Yeah. Maybe it could just be like a random enemy with long arms. Like one of the plant enemies from Mario. I don't know. There's so many things they could do. At the same time, I don't think Waluigi's gonna make it as a newcomer. So.
Yeah, no, he's gonna stay in assist trophy.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. Yep.
Definitely stay as one. Yeah, definitely.
Yo, Kazuya says our opinion is wrong. Ruben girl, she's happening. I'm down. So, starting to show I agree with you. The final DLC will be announced at the Game Awards. I think that's fairly likely. So, let's actually have the Pokemon topic now.
Fair enough.
Okay. We'll still answer questions about Smash, by the way, if they're asked. We're just, we gotta get to the topics here. It's getting late. So, Pokemon. There's gonna be a research update for Pokemon Sword and Shield this Wednesday in the morning. I think 6 a.m. Pacific time, which means 9 a.m. Third time's a charm for you and I, right? So, because we live on the East Coast of the States. What are you expecting?
Maybe like not a lot, honestly.
Will this be the time that the National Dex controversy will finally die down?
No.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
That's one of my predictions is that no, it will not.
It's not gonna die until the. I don't even think it's gonna die even after the.
I think I feel like it's not. It's still there, but I feel like the talk of it is starting to trend downwards a little bit, right? Like it's mainly because it's just not fresh, right? And there's still a lot of people who are excited for the game, so that talk of just about excitement for the game is gonna increase. So that persistent hatred and just like rejection of the game, it's still gonna exist, but it's just not gonna feel as prevalent as it did at E3 time.
Yeah, I mean that goes with like anything, technically speaking. Like
true, you're right.
Like as the longer something goes, the less and less it's gonna be like relevant and like as often talked about. But I do think like there's still gonna be people like after the game releases that they're gonna still.
It's gonna get review bomb. The user scores are gonna be so bad for that game.
Yeah, like stuff like that is gonna happen, I'm sure. In terms of like what I expect for this like presentation, is it meant for fans, or is it like an investors meeting type of thing?
It's meant for fans. I'll pull up the.
Because I remember they had that one conference that was more meant for like the business side, and they mostly talked about like opening stores.
Right. No, this is a tweet from Pokemon Company. I'll put it on the podcast so you guys can see it. Like you got a GIF of the trainer walking to the stadium with the logos. It says, has a little like sirens. Oh, Pokemon Company tweets with the sirens. Galar research update. Show of hand, trainers. Who's ready for more information on Pokemon Sword and Shield? August 7th, 2019, 6 a.m. Why do I keep saying 6 a.m.? 6 a.m. 6 a.m. My first language is English, by the way. 6 a.m.
You're stuck on that AIM from back in the day.
I don't know. Pacific time. 9 a.m. Eastern time, so it's definitely like for geared towards fans, for sure.
All right, yeah. All right, so if that's the case, then I'll definitely say, for a fact, we're gonna see new Pokemon. I feel like I'd be surprised if we don't see any new Pokemon.
Okay.
How many is up in the air, but I do feel like it is.
Right, I mean, it's research update, meaning, we got more information to talk about Pokemon that we've discovered. So.
I feel like it's gonna be information that new Pokemon, maybe like a new gym leader, because they've been kind of like periodically telling us about the gym leaders.
We're gonna learn anything about mechanics of the game or modes.
Mechanics and modes, maybe you might, because sometimes they always have like that side mode thing that you can do, like the surfing they had in Sun and Moon and like the contests.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see actually.
So they'll probably have something like that you could do on the side. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of stuff like that. Is it gonna be something that makes everyone happy? No, because I feel like at this point in time, it's.
Is there anything they could do that would quell the controversy? That would really kind of put a thought on it, minus the literally just adding national decks. Like, is there any other thing they could be done that they could show that would just change the conversation for this game?
I have a hard time believing that there is.
I agree with you.
Because I feel like there's, like, when you have, like, a large amount of people under that one, wanting this one specific thing, even if there's something that they add that they like, they typically will still want that one thing they demanded for.
Right.
So, like, maybe some of them will be a little more open-minded and say, like, oh, hey, this thing you're adding, that's cool and all, but where's national decks? That's what they might do, I feel.
Yeah. So here's the thing for me, right? When we got a Pokemon Direct right before E3, right? As most of us thought would happen. And everything they showed was like, oh my god, I thought it was like one of the best Pokemon Directs ever. Because when we first saw the game, they didn't mention a wild area. They didn't mention a controllable camera. They didn't mention Pokemon roaming around the environment like Let's Go, except better. They didn't mention any of these things that I thought they should have mentioned. They intentionally hid all of it, which I thought was actually stupid. Yep, overall, people were still fairly excited for the game. Then they go and they have a direct right before E3 and they announce, hey, there is a giant open world segment in this game. There's a controllable camera. There's roaming Pokemon. All the things, okay, not all the things, right? But a lot of the things that I wanted were announced. And I thought I was so hyped and excited for this. And then I checked the internet a week later. And everyone's just saying, this game is trash. Like, what is, like, what? But I was just surprised. Like, wait, what? Like, they just confirmed like things that people have been begging for years for this game, and now people hate it. Like, what is going on? Like, so I think the presentation that would have like turned everyone's tune for this game happened before the controversy even came up, right? So, like, you know what I mean? Like, when they announced some of the big draws for the game, nope. The timing, like, what if, like, if it was before, like, if they had announced that there wouldn't be a national dex, and then they announced, hey, there's gonna be an open world segment, there's a controllable camera, there's roaming Pokemon, then maybe it would have been a little different,
I think, because from speaking like purely for myself, like, I if you remember, Andres, like, my opinion on it has been basically like almost in the middle in a way, because like I don't like the lack of national decks, but I do like what they added. Right. So, I think it's purely just based on like what people like. Everyone wants something different out of like what their version of an ideal Pokemon game would be.
There's so many Pokemon fans, so
Yeah, like Pokemon's a massive franchise. It's the #1 JRPG period. So I feel like for myself, I love like collecting all these Pokemon and like catching anyone that I can, bringing them to the next game. But I also like the adventure itself of playing around. The only thing I'm not really big on in Pokemon is like the competitive side of things, and that's pretty much it. Everything else I'm pretty much into. So I like having a controllable camera. I like the wild area. I like all those things. But at the same time, the criticisms that I have heard that make people not excited do also bother me. So it's not to the extent, however, that I feel is enough to make me say, okay, I don't want to play this game, or I have no interest in this game. It's not enough for that. But I do think that some of the criticisms that are there are valid, and I just feel that while for myself, I know that the things that they are criticizing, the things that they want, are things that I also agree with. It's not stuff that is enough for me to ruin the experience for myself.
Right. I'm not really that far off from you, because I don't like it that there is no national dex. Like, when I heard that, I was like, okay, that sucks. But that's all I said. Okay, that sucks. And I was thinking about everything else, right? Like, for me, it's kind of like going to a restaurant and be like, okay, I want Coca-Cola with my pizza. Oh, sorry, we don't serve Coca-Cola. Oh, let me have Sprite then. So that's how it is for me. Like, I'll still have a good meal with Coke and Sprite instead of, with pizza and Sprite instead of, pizza and Coke. That's how I kind of feel about it, because there's still all these other good things that are coming with the game. Now, I do think that there is something weird that moving forward that we can never see all Pokemon in one game. That's how it kind of sounded. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like I think because it is only going to get harder and harder as they make the roster larger and larger. Like we're talking about over 1,000 models here, right? So that's a lot. That's a lot. So I understand people are saying, oh, but Pokemon Company is so large, Pokemon is a huge media, but the money should be the funding. And we've talked about this ad nauseum, right? So I mean, we don't have to really get into too much into this part, but let's just I guess we both agree that there's nothing that they're gonna announce on Wednesday that's going to completely change the tune of this game. I think.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though, right? So for Fire Emblem, like most of the information about the game was already available, but the hype for this game didn't really start to hit its stride until right before it was coming out, right?
Right.
Like it wasn't until people who started getting their hands on the game and started playing the whole package, right, that we started hearing such raving things about the game, that the hype really started building, and until it started pushing more and more media for this. So I think we're gonna learn more about the game, like little things. I still think they haven't really talked about any of the online stuff, right? So if there is anything that could really change the conversation a little bit about Pokemon, it's the online modes. Like if that's extensive, right, I think a lot more people are like, oh man, this is what I've been waiting for. Like that might be something that could maybe change it a little bit for some people, right? But I'll just say that from the competitive aspect of things, which is what those elements would really be appealing to, I think most competitive people aren't necessarily too upset about the national dex thing, because most competitive people have to rely on a regional dex for tournaments anyways very often. So I don't think that it'll like really bring in too many national dex wanners in, because like I said, there's definitely overlap, but there's not that much overlap.
Right.
But anyway, I think what could happen though, if this is a good game, that when it comes out and people start playing the whole package and the media is continually pushed, the narrative for the game is going to come out and people are like, oh wow, this is actually a really, really good Pokemon game, right? So that's what I'm hoping. But let's just focus on what we think we'll see on Wednesday, right? I think we're going to see new Pokemon. Maybe they'll talk about one side mode, maybe. I hope they feature all the online stuff on Wednesday, but I'm not they called it a research update, right? So
Yeah.
it leads me to think more just like Pokemon stuff.
It'd probably be more Pokemon stuff. I would like to see the team behind it, like the Team Flare, the Team Skulls.
I think that could happen. If anything, that's more
Yeah.
likely to happen.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like that's a big part of like every Pokemon game that just hasn't been shown in any capacity. Like we've heard things, but we haven't seen it. So that's the
How
big-
cool would it be if they have a trailer and it starts off with like a cutscene and there's dialogue?
I mean, depends how good the dialogue is.
True.
Like, cause
That's a great point. What if it just sounds like a high quality anime?
it'd be fine. Yeah. Because if it's
And when I say
if-
high quality anime, I guess like, I mean, there's
would
already
be-
a Pokemon anime, right? So like,
Yeah.
it's gotta at least measure up to that.
yeah, I mean, if it's
Not at least,
that,
but I feel like that should be the expectation to measure up to that.
yeah, I mean, if it's something like that, then I'll be fine with it. I'll be cool with that. I'm just afraid of like, because I don't know if you've heard the English dub for Pokken Tournament, but it's awful.
I mean, I have Pokken Tournament. I think I just auto it to Japanese.
Yeah, like normally I'm the guy who plays like English, like 99% of the time. That's like the one game I put in Japanese because I just cannot stand the English voice acting in that game.
It's interesting.
It's-
Yeah,
it's a
I'm watching most of a lot of anime. I'm watching Japanese. I'm one of those guys that thinks English voice acting is usually terrible. It depends. Usually in anime, it's terrible, right? Because they don't really match the original direction, right? Because in Japan, like anime isn't necessarily just catered for kids, but for whatever reason, like some dubbing companies think the anime is just for kids. Not actually, especially when, like, I mean, look at like Attack on Titan. Like, Attack on Titan is definitely not for kids, okay? Like,
Yeah,
no. I'm not saying the dub for Attack on Titan is bad, by the way. I'm just, saying in general. But yeah, I can't say, and that's just with we don't actually know for sure if there isn't going to be dialogue or not. It might not be because I feel like they would have revealed it already. So, you know, I was just kind of hopeful because they have a lot of those cutscenes where you see people talking, but there's no audio for that actual scene. It's just like background music. So I'm optimistic, but my optimism is like dropping because they still haven't revealed it. I feel like that's something they should have revealed already.
I think it's more likely that it's not. I think like at best it's just better, like maybe the camera angles of the scene just make it look better and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think at most it's probably just gonna be what we expect it to be. You know, usual text boxes and whatnot.
Yeah, probably right. So we'll see. So then, you know, maybe we see the team. I could see that happening, and they'll show off some Pokemon. Like they'll show off a battle from Team Team Yell, was what we heard from the rumor that's likely true.
Right.
But we'll see a scene of that, and they'll have a battle, and we'll see a couple of those Pokemon in it. For example,
maybe we'll see the boss of the team.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe not, because there's a lot of speculation that the announcer is one of the main bad guys, but you won't know until later because he just looks too suave for people to trust him.
Too shady, too greaseball like.
Yeah. So I think there's a fairly good chance that we'll finally get to see the next stages of the starters.
Yeah, that's probably really likely.
It's gonna happen sooner or later.
Like, I think it's like 100% guaranteed that we're gonna see new Pokemon in general, and that's probably gonna be the part of it that most people are gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for like something that's a little, like, not as obvious, like the team. I mean, then again,
if they were gonna see Galarian forms.
Yeah.
So like Alolan forms, we're gonna get Galarian forms. Now, the leak that has been pretty much confirmed to be true, right? That also tells us that Team Yell is probably like the team. Suggests more Kanto Pokemon to get to different regional variants. But there's this recent rumor. Actually, I don't know if I pulled it up anywhere. I wish I did. I wish I did. I have it on my phone so I can read it actually. There's a recent rumor that just give me a second. I got it right here. Sure. All right, so I'll just read it out to you guys. So, new trailer on August 7th. By the way, this information was leaked on the last day of August. So, they guessed that there would be a trailer on August 7th. That's considering that Coral Crow comes out. Like the timing of that isn't really too crazy, but still, they said 3 new Pokemon will be revealed. 4 if you include Impidimp. Okay. So Impidimp was technically at the E3 footage, but it wasn't like officially announced. Kind of like Yamper wasn't until recently. Right. Also, finally show off a couple Galar forms. Seagull, a blue seagull Pokemon that has pretty big oval-shaped mouth horizontally, surprisingly ice-flying. It will be introduced with Barracuda, a water ghost barracuda Pokemon that it hunts. Seagull has a signature flying type attack called Dive Launch, where it dives and picks up Pikachus when on land, or Barracudas when over water, to launch at the enemy. The silliest move I've ever seen. Barracuda makes a funny face when being launched, like it's going Bool while Pikachu looks caught off guard. Okay, that sounds funny. Impidimp is shown. There will be a new bug fire type based off a fire ant and torch. It's very red, and the sack on it looks like it's an actual torch. Marnie and Bede are revealed. These are characters. Bede is a childhood friend, and Marnie is someone who moved into town recently to star on a show. She's a little famous. Marnie has a Yamper, and Bede is shown with a Grookey against the protagonist Sobble. That means he gets the starter Stronger to You, which suggested that he's the actual rival, but we've already seen the rival. He's the brother of the champion. So is he not like, is he more like your nice rival that isn't really your rival, you know, that picks the weaker one from you? So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. If that's true. Team Yell grunts are shown after you interact with Marnie, as they seem to be fans of hers. They have a fan club over her and are obsessed. She doesn't like them following her, so you fight them off. It's pretty stupid. Opal's gym is shown off. It's a fairy type. She uses Alcremie. Galarian forms. Girafarig turned Dark Psychic. The dark side of its tail possesses the front of the body instead, and it gets devil horns with an evil smile. The back of the body looks like normal color Girafarig, and with the tail, it's white with a normal face. Sudowoodo looks a lot more like a tree and becomes rock grass. Trailer ends with evolution shown, followed by a black screen and 2 new cries. I won't spoil the types. So apparently 2 new evolutions this time, according to this rumor. And then it talks a little about legendary. Zacian and Zamazenta and Eternatus are the main legendary trio. Zacian's a steel fighting, Zamazenta is a steel fire. Eternatus is a dark type and looks like it's made entirely of black gas. It also talks about Meteodyna, which is a legendary Pokemon on the mound. Apparently it's a normal dragon type, and it's related to somehow being giant dragons, and Dynamaxing, Gigantamaxing. And then it says there's another trio based off wooden soldiers. One is more feminine looking. Their names are Lancewell, Exina, and Bowane. There are no other new legendaries. Oh, there's also one more. Actually, I missed it. There's like a Pigsy fairy thing somewhere here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I don't even know if that's going to be shown off in the trailer, but apparently this person knows about legendaries too. So we'll see how true that actually is. I agree that there will definitely be another gym leader shown, right?
Yeah.
And I agree, and I think if there are forms, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to be shown off on Wednesday. I hope it's from Johto, not more Kanto ones, because Kanto's been so overdone lately, and Johto has had no love. Like that Girafarig thing sounds awesome. The tail that has like the little choppy thing. Like if that takes over, that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for it. I mean, I have no problems with Kanto, but I know a lot of people don't.
I have no problems with Kanto either. I just wish that some other gyms got more of a focus.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I guess like I'm in the minority in terms of like I don't care. Like I don't care if Kanto gets more, but like I'd be into it regardless of which gen got some kind of attention.
I get you.
So like if Gen 2 started getting like their stuff, especially with Girafarig, then yeah, I'll be totally on that. That sounds good to me. Like I just feel that whatever does show up on Wednesday, it's definitely not gonna be like a huge story like expanded thing, and it's not gonna be like a massive info drop, if that makes sense. It's definitely gonna be like just announcing like some new things here and there that hasn't been shown off, and some new Pokemon. So like forms, if there are any, like that'll be there. I think like the team would be there, and a few new Pokemon would also be there. What I think would be cool is if they pulled like because I don't know if you've seen like the Pokemon Go advertisements lately, where it's like
I saw one for Miltank.
Yeah, like if they kind of like the advertisements lately for Pokemon Go has been kind of like advertising Team Rocket being a thing, so they'll like vandalize the advertisement, so to speak, and like cross things out and stuff. I just think like it'd be cool if they pulled a page out of that and they kind of made it so that they introduced the team by them like taking over the Galar research transmission or something, and just start
I would love that. No,
like if they did something like that.
If that's how they introduced Team Yell, that would be epic.
Yeah, like if they did it like that, and then just like they try to like change the whole broadcast about praising that I forgot the character's name they're obsessed with.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That's a rumor. It might not even be true. So
yeah, like if that's a thing, I just think it'd be funny. Like I just think that'd be a cutesy way of like announcing the character. It's kind of like when they had Splatoon had their presentations, they would make it like it's like a research laboratory kind of like theme to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think taking that idea and just kind of like going full with it, I just think for the presentation, just make it more fun. I don't see them doing that. I see them just like announcing the team just like straight up. But I just think it'd be like a cool way of doing it.
I don't know, man. They might just think cool like that. Who knows?
They could. I mean, if they do it, it'll be entertaining.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, it'd be great. Like
it'll definitely be entertaining. Yeah.
So I'm about to take it to another level, right? Because it's cool, but also almost certainly wrong. So definitely don't believe this. Don't expect this at all, right? But I'm piggybacking off your idea, right? And actually piggybacking off the idea I brought up earlier. So, opening cutscene, it actually shows the professor, and she starts talking about these different Pokemon, as if it's like a class, and you're learning about these different Pokemon, and it's all voiceover dialogue, right? And then there is that interruption, and it shows like a cutscene, with one of the characters in the show, and she's getting attacked, and then the team comes in, they interrupt the whole research update thing, and then you see a battle, and like they do that whole thing. It's like a whole little episode that's hijacked, just like you said. But there's cutscenes and there's people talking that you can hear, and they show off all these different Pokemon. That would be epic. Not gonna happen. I don't know. I that's just like a lot.
It would be like, you know what? Actually, if this was Team, what was the name? I forgot the name of the
Which
team.
gen?
The team in black and white.
Oof.
Plasma? Not
Plasma.
Was
Maybe.
it Plasma? Oh, was that Diamond and Pearl?
Yeah, I don't know. Team Flare was Gen 6.
I get the 4 and 5 teams mixed up.
Evil team in black and white.
Oh no, I did Team Plasma because Team Galactic I think is Team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, because you know how their whole thing was like, oh, we got a free Pokemon and that whole thing. It would have been like if it was that team, then you probably would have seen something like, oh, they just let out all the Pokemon from the laboratories or something, and then that's how you see all the new Pokemon because they're just like running around, doing their own thing. I don't even know how they could introduce Team Yell other than just like, because it doesn't.
Maybe they start
the link
yelling.
is completely accurate. Like they don't. It doesn't sound like they would do something like hijack.
I don't know what they would
like,
do.
Yeah, like I feel like at most they would show the character that they're obsessed with. I forgot her name that you mentioned earlier, but like they would show her, and then maybe they'll show like the character, the team after her or something, like show her like in a cutscene or something. They go, oh, but then there's something more sinister about her or something, and it's like her walks away, and there's like all this team of like people coming in, like these annoying fans, and then they just like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of hard to follow up the team from Sun and Moon, because they had like a lot of personality with the dancing and stuff, and because they acted basically like funny gangsters. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting to see how they, whatever this team is, how they follow that up with. But I will say that a lot of the cutscenes we have seen, the characters look fairly expressive, right? Like more so than we've seen from previous Pokemon games. So I'm optimistic that the team will be pretty fun to watch. So we'll see. Yeah.
I do agree though that like Team Skull will be very hard to top, especially for myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were saying that when it happens, like, oh, there's no way that they're going to be able to come up with something cooler than this.
Yeah,
I guess we'll find out.
They might not even top it. They could just make a good team, but it might not,
Right, and I think that's fine. I kind of miss, like, I want a team that's just, like, bad. Like, Team Rocket was, like, bad. Like, they're just bad people, Like, they're going to do bad stuff. Like, the whole, like, in Gen 2, when they took over, like, the radio tower and stuff like that was just kind of, like, cool. Like, I'm completely fine if this team doesn't necessarily have the most quirkiest of personalities. They're just, like, dangerous people, and whenever they're in the environment, like, they're epic because they raise the stakes. They're not just like, oh, he's kind of funny. Because I mean, like, Team Skull wasn't like really bad, right? They were just a gang that you have to deal with. They
were like the annoying teenagers.
Pretty much, right? the evil was actually from the other people, the research. I forget like the names of everything, but
I
want to say Lucamine. I'm probably wrong. I don't remember. Like the girl, the mother of Lily.
Yeah, Lucamine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I got the name right. Okay. Cool. I thought I put the name of the city. Like I just don't remember.
Oh, you're thinking of Lumios.
Yeah. I am. So, they were the evil ones, but you didn't really know. But, and I actually wish they went more deeper into that. Like, I wish they got really dark with that. That would have been a lot, like, really exciting to see. So hopefully they go deep into, like, devious plots this time. I want them to go get a little extra. And I think there's a possibility they might, because, like, Let's Go was kind of like that more casual oriented game, right? I think that kind of opens up the doors for them to get a little bit more intense with this one, right? Both in terms of like challenge, but also kind of like just appealing to a slightly more mature fan base, right? I'm not asking for like heads to be chopped off here, but like like if you introduce some dark like plot points, maybe just explore it a little bit more, right? Because I think in Sun and Moon they definitely introduced some dark stuff, but they didn't really dig into it, you know.
They tend to kind of do that because I think after Team Rocket, they sort of went more for like comically, like, villainous characters. Like, oh, I'm gonna fill the world with water or land, and then I'm gonna take over the universe. And
well, the stakes are so high that it's hilarious.
Yeah, like it's not that you can't take it seriously. It's more just like at that point you're getting to like it's getting comical, like it's comic book like villains.
Like Team Flare was pretty like he's like I'm going to destroy everything.
Yeah, he just went nuclear. He was just like,
yeah,
I hate everything, so everything needs to go. Like,
yeah.
That's why I think that's.
I would have liked it if they had like a mafioso sort of thing.
That's kind of what Team Rocket was.
Kinda, yeah.
Like Team Rocket was based off the Yakuza, and Yakuza is just Japanese mafia.
And that was cool, and I really appreciated that. Like if they
went
to
like that overall theme is why Giovanni's still one of my favorite of the like team leaders.
And he was a gym leader too. Like I wish they if they were to do that again to have what if they were to dig deeper into that? Like what if like the team actually had like control over the government? Like like what if like Officer Jenny wasn't so nice, because she's getting paid off by the Team Rocket. Like that'd be really cool. Or like, and actually, right, because people are theorizing that the announcer or like the head spokesperson for like the sporting Pokemon League, right, like the suave looking guy, like what if he is paid off by this evil team,
Right.
Or if he's part of like that'd be cool to see if there's like if they have like actual control over society.
Yeah, like I think something like that would be more interesting. Because I feel like that's why people like Team Skull so much, because one, obviously they have the personality, but
yeah,
I think a big part of it is also because like we were used to having like several generations of like these comic book villains.
Like it was different.
Just have which is cool and all, but then when you get to Team Skull, it's literally just like the neighborhood like annoying thugs. Like it's not that massive.
Yeah, they weren't really trying to take over the world.
Yeah, and even if they wanted to, they couldn't.
No, they couldn't. They were just basically a whole bunch of angry kids who hang out in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep, for sure.
And I think that's what gave them that little extra boost of like popularity too, because they hadn't done that since Team Rocket.
Yeah. So it's getting late. I think we should get to the final topic. And this could be a doozy, but I mean, we don't have to make it a doozy. So, recently Trump came out and basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically said that, video games are a big part of the violence we see, with, all the terrible gun attacks. And I mean, I think everyone watching this, or almost everyone watching this, will agree that statement isn't really coming from any like educated research. It's really just repeating, not non-intellectually backed points that have been made for years that have never really been supported by any legitimate information. And he's obviously someone who's not well acquainted with games, even slightly, right? So, I think it's dumb, but everyone's talking about it. And I just think it's unfortunate that there will be people who will hear that and be like, yes, these video games are bad. That's not okay. Shouldn't let our kids play this. But video games for me, well, are obviously really important to us, right? Video games have been a very big deal, and they've made a very big difference in my life, and they've helped me to get through a lot of things. Like it's been something that I've used as an escape, or something to sort of either it's been something that I've used to like meet a lot of people and be really competitive with, right? But it's all kind of like really fun parties and have just really good times. But it's also been something where, like, for example, like these single player games where I just really get into the story of the adventure, it allows me to kind of escape and kind of help to deal with whatever sort of anguish I'm dealing with internally, right? Like, so in two different ways, like just playing games has really offered up a lot for me. And I think that's something that someone who doesn't play games wouldn't really understand.
Yeah, I think that the whole
video games cause violence in any capacity. It's just this old like superstition that started from I have no idea where. It just started somewhere.
People like scapegoating, right? Like
Yeah.
we like to come up with reasons for bad things.
I think like government speaking, like there's no money in it. Like if like the government is
It doesn't benefit them to speak well of the video game industry.
right. Like there's not like they benefit from it in any capacity. So they can easily just, change the topic of the conversation to like something that doesn't affect them in any capacity.
No, but I think if someone is going to do something against video games, you're going to not help yourself with the vote of the younglings.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, at the same time, most conservatives don't really like. Conservative party doesn't like the Republicans don't care too much about the young vote, right?
Right. I mean, the thing is like the whole video game violence connection thing is just basically the modern day version of rock and roll is bad.
Yeah, yeah, pretty similar.
It's
and I think actually
just
there's even a famous quote from Miyamoto about that.
Yeah, and it's basically just the modern day version of that, and I think that if even if it wasn't video games, like 10 years, maybe 20 years from now, it's gonna be whatever new thing is happening at that point in time. Whatever new thing there is out there, for some reason or another, they always find something wrong with that has to be linked to something a lot worse. Whether that be rock music, whether that be video games. And like I said, 20, 30 years from now, it might not be video games anymore. It might be whatever new thing is popular at that point in time.
So I'm gonna put this quote up from Shigeru Miyamoto. Video games are bad for you. That's what they said about rock and roll. I know there's not much more to it than that, but I mean it just speaks to exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people just feel the same way. It's just, it's not really like factual. Even if you took the most violent of video games, the studies show that even then there's no correlation. Like for example, like my entire life I've played every Doom game. If you've played Doom, you know how violent those games can be. I've also played every Mortal Kombat game. Those games are equally insanely violent, but I'm just fine. And so is many other people who play the same game.
I don't know what's on. I only see what's on camera. I don't know what's in your closet.
Oh, I mean that's true, but my closet's right here. But yeah, like there's no like regardless if
I
someone's
can
playing...
vouch for Shifty's docile nature. By the way, we've met in person. He's a good guy.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We have met in person. So.
Yeah.
There it is. I have a witness. But yeah, like regardless if you're playing like something as calm as Kirby and Stardew Valley or as violent as Doom and Mortal Kombat, there's just no correlation whatsoever to having violent tendencies because of video games.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's politics, man. It's just dumb. I think it's dumb, but I think it's not gonna really matter too much. And I think that games are just becoming more mainstream and more commonplace, right? It's becoming more understood. Like once upon a time, like if you played games, you were just a nerd. Now it's kind of like pretty much every dude. Like if you're a dude and you don't play video games, that's considered a little weird, right? Now that obviously if you're watching this, you play video games, right? But I'm not saying if you're a dude and you don't play video games, there's something wrong with you. But you're out of the ordinary, right? Like I think we can agree on that, right?
I think out of the ordinary sounds a little negative.
Well, I'll say this, man. I'm gonna be frank with you. Anyone who doesn't play video games, it's not that I can't be friends with them. I'll admit there's a couple people in my life or people that I've dated that I was in love with and they didn't play video games, right? We got along fine. So it's not like, I don't like those kinds of people. I'm just saying that there is not as much, I don't have as much of a connection to them because video games are a really big part of my life and like what I do and what I talk about, right? But my simple point is though is that it is out of the I don't know how to say it without sounding negative, but I mean, maybe it is a little negative. I don't know. Like, at least when it comes to males, like in terms of the perception, at least from where I'm from, right? Like, it's not common. It just isn't. Like, if you're a guy, people kind of assume, okay, you probably play video games. Like, maybe you don't play it all the time, but you play it at least sometimes, right? Like, you understand games. And for girls, I mean, girls definitely play video games too, but it's not, like, considered to be as known, right? But, I mean, I'm seeing more and more girls come out and talking about how they play video games. Like, hey, this is what I do. It's fun. Like, it's progressively becoming more of a normalized thing. I mean, look, we were talking about the whole ninja thing, right? Like, he is playing a big role in sort of making games seem, like, more mainstream, right? Like, when things like Smash reach those numbers, you know, that bodes well for it to be considered more of, like, an esport, become more complex. You have more games that become more like spectator sports. What does that do? It makes it more mainstream, right? Like, I'm just saying that we are moving in this direction where it's becoming more normalized. It's not really considered as much of just a nerdy thing now. It's just kind of considered just like a form of entertainment, like watching a movie or reading a book.
Right. And I think that's exactly how it should be treated.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking esports, then I guess it's a couple other things too. But they're both basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but watching esports, that's entertainment.
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's still a form of entertainment. It just depends on, like, what kind you're looking for.
Absolutely.
And the whole blaming video games for, like, violent actions like that is just not the way to go about it. It, like, there's no correlation, and they're just basically trying to shift blame at that point.
Yeah. And I'll also say that, you know, Trump has said a lot of things that most people don't agree with. I wonder how much stake people put into the actual words that come out of Trump's mouth, you know? And I'm not trying to speak ill of Trump necessarily, right? I'm not going to talk about my actual, like political affiliation or anything like that. I'm just simply saying that, you know, he's become known for saying a lot of things that a lot of people don't really, like, take too seriously. You know, like, he speaks out on Twitter all the time. It's rarely grammatically correct. You know, these are facts. So, you know, I think it's gonna be one of those things where it's just gonna be like, okay, that's what he said. Move on. Next week we'll worry about the next thing he said.
Yeah, I didn't even, like, really, like, I heard about him saying that when I was at work earlier today. And I didn't really have much to say on the matter, or I didn't really feel like I had much to say, because I've heard the song and dance for the last, 15, 20 years of, like, video games being on the spotlight every time something like this happens. So it's, the way I look at it, you know, obviously my best wishes to the family of those affected and whatnot. But the government doing this whole thing, just blaming games for it's I've heard the same song and dance, so I would just be, I don't know, I just don't have much to say on it. It's Trump saying what he wants to say, and chances are nothing's gonna come of it anyways. So
yeah, I hope it doesn't really mean too much. There are things that, like, doesn't come up that sometimes worry me, like, for example, like, video game addiction is, like, considered a legitimate, like, mental disorder now or something. I mean, I think you can be addicted to anything, right? So, yeah. You know,
there's people addicted to eating toilet paper. Like,
there are people who are in love with their cars, sexually.
Yeah, and amusement parks.
Yes, like, there are a lot of really weird things out there. People can kind of get fixated on pretty much anything.
Yeah, addiction is not dependent on the thing that they are addicted to. It is fixated to the very act of addiction itself.
Yeah. So, you know, there's just these weird things that sometimes come up, but I think we can agree that even there are things that come up that kind of hit, that maybe a hit on, like, the perception of video games, right? Because this is a hit, right? Because there are gonna be some people like, oh man, I should be careful, you know, if the president's saying video games are bad, the president, you know, there are some people who will hear that and maybe not make a video game purchase, or maybe dissuade their children from playing video games or something like that, right? Like that is going to happen. There's going to be a large amount of people. I don't think so, but there's going to be some people.
I mean,
right?
there's definitely going to be some people because, you know, not everyone is enthusiast like we are, who
Right.
does the research and knows the things about studies and all that.
Yeah,
There's some people who just, they work their 9 to 5, they have their kids, they take care of their kids, they, you know, meet their families, all that stuff. And then when they're at home and they're finally relaxing after a long day, they watch the news. And then when they watch the news, they hear the president saying violence was caused because of video games. At that point in time, those are the people who are going to be affected by that kind of message.
right. Especially if they don't really have too much of a history with games already, right? Or if they're not and kind of indifferent to it, and they'll take their president's word for what it is and won't really think much on it. Yeah, it's going to impact their decisions to play games moving forward. So, you know, it takes a hit, but I think these hits aren't going to slow down games as becoming a bigger part of our culture. I think that's still like moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, like I think gaming's gonna be just fine. I'm not worried about the future at all.
Yep. I hope we're right. So
I'm confident in what I'm saying right now. Very confident. I've been on a streak lately with predictions. I don't know if I told you.
no.
Actually, this is random to bring up now because it was actually technically the very first topic of the podcast. But
Yeah.
I actually predicted who was gonna win Evo.
Yeah. I
And
saw you mention that on Twitter.
Yeah, I had predicted the whole like. Oh, I said basically it was either gonna be MK Leo winning Evo, or it was not. If it was not him, it was gonna be this other guy named Tweak. And ironically, those were the last two in the tournament. So I was like,
How are they ranked beforehand? Was there like some sort of global ranking?
Yeah, there's this thing called the Panda Global Rankings, or the PGR for short.
Where were they?
They were first and second.
Okay, so it was
So-
just yeah,
Yeah, so I just went off of that. I was like, oh, and I've seen them play too.
right, and they've been playing well.
Yeah, so
they
it's
were-
not like they did really well at the beginning of the season and then they dropped off. Like, no, they were playing consistently well the entire time.
Okay,
So that was just my thought on it, and it was on point.
there you go. This man's on a streak, so
So
Cool.
I believe in my confidence because I believe in it.
cool. So guys, we're at 3 hours. It is 12:30 at night for us, so we're going to end the discussion here. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, let us know, and we'll get back to you next week, or on the internet, Twitter, Discord. Check us out. The link to Shifty's channel is in the description below. We'll see y'all really soon. Take care.
Take care.
I forgot to hit not stream. We're still alive. Now I'm saying bye.
All
See
right.
ya.